Ship 31 suffers an anomaly. We have a full stack back at the pad ahead of Starship Flight 4. And is NASA being overly cautious about a Polaris mission to service Hubble? Let's talk about it on this week's Flame Trench.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside, SPD off. Bring in, SPD off. It's orange!
Orange 45. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Look at this! Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting with the flare, correct?
Yikes. You said, we don't need any more of these.
Welcome to the Flame Trench. Right off the bat, I apologize if I sound a little weird. I am a little bit sick and under the weather, so apologies for that. You're just going to have to put up with weird-sounding Jack for a change, as if I didn't already sound weird. But it's not just me this week on our Flame Trench Friday show. Also, as always, joined by our ever-competent cohort of co-hosts, including EJ, who is yet again reading a book. What book is it this time, EJ?
Oh, we have, we have Modern Engineering for Design of Liquid Propellant Rocket Engines.
Nice.
Very good read. You know, Jack, I like to break a mental sweat, too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also joining us on today's show, we have Sawyer. Sawyer, are you there, buddy?
No, I'm not here. Actually, I am. And I should have brought my book with me. I just started reading the new one that came out last week. The new one about the Challenger incident. Haven't fully read through it yet, but so far, so good. But, CJ, you're not the only one that can read.
Hey, I can read.
Really? Oh,
No,
right.
Really, Jack?
Yeah, my tutor says I'm up to a 4th grade level.
Dude. Read the Cat in the Hat for me, then. You won't.
Also, joining us is Trevor.
Hello.
Trevor, are you there?
Yes.
Stole that from EJ.
We have a little bit. I may have been a little bit unprepared. I forgot that we changed time. So, while Kevin is setting me up, you get to look at someone far more talented than me. A photo I took of Taylor at the Eras tour.
Oh, I thought you just, got your hair done or something, man.
Oh my gosh.
Like the outfit. Trevor, you should use that
the
more
outfit looks
often
great.
rock
It's
climbing.
very you. It's very you.
It is very me.
All right, well, as always, on the old Flame Trench and any NSF stream, if you have any questions, type it into chat at NASASpaceflight, and we will see some software pop up or we'll see the questions pop up in some software that we're running. Did I mention that I'm sick and not feeling well? Well,
It's two times.
this week, I think we will start off with EJ and good old Europa Clipper. Dare I say Europa Clippy?
No. No. Don't do that. Stop. Don't do that.
Europa Clippy.
So, all right. So Europa Clipper is basically finishing up being manufactured, is about to be sent off to the Cape. Europa Clipper is famously a mission that was supposed to launch on SLS, but they just did one thing. They forgot to buy an SLS for it. So recently, relatively recently on the scale of the entire mission, NASA made the decision to move it over to Falcon Heavy, and a much cheaper launch option, I would say, especially when you forgot to buy the rocket. Anyway, so the last bits of it are actually being moved down to the Cape. Some of it is already there. The solar panels are already there, and the main bus of the satellite is being moved down to the Cape in preparations for launch. Should be a little bit later this year. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I have thoughts about this. If we're just going to start off being spicy, like
I mean, it's called the flame trench, EJ.
I mean,
it's called the flame trench. The word flame is
Jack
in the name.
disagrees with me on it apparently. So I mean, and chat probably does too. So I mean, are we gonna? Do you guys want to be spicy right now? We can be spicy right now.
EJ, it's called the flame trench. It's like the flame is in the name. So
I was just gonna say, you put the flame in flame trench.
Even if I heartily disagree with what you're about to say, I support your right to say it.
Okay. Everyone gets a milk, spice incoming.
What? All right, so I do think that launching it on Falcon Heavy is going to be a smaller launch cost, but you got to remember, launching it on Falcon Heavy is a rocket that has way less delta V than SLS does. And now, whatever you think about SLS, and let's be real, for a lot of you, it's probably not good, but for the people that like it, that's cool too. All right, excellent. I personally think that the mission is going to end up costing a lot more, or at least even pushing on cost, even switching over your launch vehicle. The reason why is because the payload was already being made after the decision to launch on a different rocket. Now, I do understand that Europa Clipper does supposedly, we don't know this for sure, Europa Clipper's instrumentation wasn't jiving very well with the vibration environment for SLS on ascent. Supposedly, we don't know if that's a thing. That really kind of was just whispers here and there. But also at the same time, I think that launching on SLS, if it launched on SLS, it would have gotten the mission. It's going to get the mission done faster. But Falcon Heavy, because it's launching on Falcon Heavy is not SLS. It has way less delta V, no matter how hard you want it to have more. It's right? It's going to take a lot longer.
Launch costs, though, and transit duration. Like, yes, it's going to take longer to get there riding on a Falcon Heavy. But, and forgive me, I forget where I read this, but it would have cost $1 billion estimated to modify Europa Clipper to be able to withstand the vibrational environment of an SLS, thanks to those solid boosters. So they're not only saving on launch costs, they're also saving on modifications to the probe so that it does not have to withstand that high vibrational environment to the tune of $1 billion. So factor that into your cost analysis when you're saying that the increased transit time is is it $1 billion more in increased costs due to the increased transit time? I suspect not, but
you got plus. Yeah, I mean,
hold on, I'm about to. I may have to sneeze. Nope, I'm good. The other thing that's I think important to take into account is that while the development makes way more sense to be done on Falcon Heavy, like a lot of these modification that they're doing may be able to be done to other payloads that will eventually fly on Falcon Heavy. When it makes more sense, in my opinion, to do that work for a vehicle that's going to fly a large number of times than it is for a vehicle that maybe will fly one cargo, one piece of one thing that's not Orion. So, I don't know how much of that work exactly transfers over, but surely next time they do this, it would be slightly less work.
Here's the other thing I'm wondering too, is, obviously this was one of the early contracts for SLS cargo. Right now, there's no real SLS cargo missions besides for Gateway currently scheduled. Do you think if this had stuck with SLS that we might actually see a little bit more production and potentially more SLS cargo launches? Because I feel like most people are moving launch vehicles just because of the fact that not only the cost, but hey, there's not that many of them, so we'd be waiting a while.
Yeah, I suppose that. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, Sawyer. I mean, getting SLS cargo on the books could open up the door for more science missions for the exact same point that what Trevor just said a second ago. You get SLS cargo on the books, you develop it, and let's be real. SLS is always going to seem to carry a heavier price tag because it's giving us total cost involved. The commercial companies definitely don't. They do not do that. We get a price per launch. Price per launch is not total cost involved. Total cost involved of the entire rocket is roped into launch cost, which is why SLS seemingly carries such a big price tag. But getting SLS 1B or like a 1B cargo, or even just SLS Block 1 with a cargo, putting a Delta 4 fairing basically on top of the ICPS. I mean, I'm not sure we can even do that anymore because Delta is Delta int right now. Yes, there's your word of the day. But yeah, it could pave the way for SLS to be used as a more scientific platform and not just for human exploration, which would be great. I mean, that type of architecture favors scientific exploration when you have a huge high energy low thrust upper stage like the EUS or the ICPS, for instance. And I think, honestly, we would save money in the long run launching it on SLS. I know, Chad. I know. It seems like I'm coping hard. I get it. But listen, getting SLS-1B cargo on the books could enable us to do science faster. Yes, it carries a heavier price tag in the beginning, right? But over time, we can do more science more frequently. The rate of science, your bandwidth of science goes up over time. So yeah, you fork over a pretty heavy price tag, but you're able to launch science and get the science done quicker. I don't think people understand. On Falcon Heavy, our transit time for this mission is doubled, more than doubled. You're going to have to do multiple gravity assists to get this thing out to where it would have gotten with SLS. And one shot, no grav assist would have taken a fraction of the time.
Right.
It's just something to think about, guys.
I mean, I always complain about timescales, and of course I want more science faster. I'm with you on that. But there's not even an SLS available, right? And even if we snapped our fingers today and got Congress's heads out of their nether regions and got funding, and all of a sudden it's all right, let's ramp SLS. Let's go. Let's build double the amount of core stages that we're building right now. There's still that lag time. When would we even get more SLIs? I don't know what the plural of SLS is. SLSs?
It
would be a while. There'd be a lead time regardless, right?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that with Falcon Heavy, Starship, New Glenn, and all of the commercial launchers online, that minimizing the number of SLS launches is what we should be going for. It is not a cost-effective program. It is, from a rocket design perspective, it makes such little sense, the entire program. So trying to get away from launching on SLS and moving those to commercial launches seems smart, and that's why I personally don't see SLS launching more than 4 or 5 times before the entire Artemis program gets moved to Starship, New Glenn, all other launch vehicles. So why even bother with that development when you could do it for, that money will go so much further in a commercial company's hands, because just paying for them to start the work.
Because claiming that you can do science for a lower cost is putting a price on said science, and that clearly putting a price on science is gives people fodder to cancel scientific missions. I think that's the precedent to be set here. Think about it. You're not having your science programs roped in with your human exploration program, and NASA needs that commingling there to be more sustainable in the long run. It really does. If you don't, and these science missions are just kind of floating out, maybe with a commercial customer somewhere, dude, that's fodder for being canceled. Look at what's happening with Chandra. I mean, Chandra is not exactly a case circumstance here, but point is that if you don't have these missions kind of intermingling, putting it on SLS, we save a lot of money doing that, but also, not having the programs kind of integrated together, and what NASA's doing is making them easy fodder for cancellation or defunding. You're putting a price on science that way, and I don't think that's smart.
Well, no, I think there's a big difference between putting a price on science and putting a price on the launch cost. We should be spending, for a project like James Webb, it makes a lot of sense for that to be cost plus, and for us to spend a lot of money on it. And same goes for, any of these other big science missions. But that just doesn't make sense at this point with launch vehicles. It makes sense for these launch vehicles, which have clearly been very, very successful commercially, to be commercialized, in my opinion, so that we can minimize that cost. And hopefully NASA will then say, hey, we just saved, $800 million on launch cost by moving this from from SLS to Falcon Heavy. Let's reinvest that money into other science programs. I know them convincing Congress to be able to do that is not a guarantee, but I think it would actually allow for more science to be done if you're able to substantially decrease this launch cost.
Fight.
I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, that'd be good. But guys, since when are we going to talk about congressional funding in ideal world here? I think that's kind of... I don't know, man. I don't know. That's such a good idea. Anyway, Yeah, Europa Clipper is moving down, and we should see it on Falcon Heavy. And guys, I'm just playing devil's advocate again. I do think that it's good that we're going to go and launch it on Falcon Heavy, but the incessant drive to commercialize everything, the commercial partner, you're not giving much sustainability to. You're not giving much sustainability for programs to be commingling. Like, and my entire argument is based off the fact that NASA science missions and their human missions should work with each other. An example would be like the Surveyor program during the Apollo program. Surveyor intertwined completely, and I mean, frankly, so did Ranger with the Apollo program. They kind of all work together.
Hold up, really quick. Just really quick.
I'm holding.
Really quick. Yeah, just a second. Stand by. Booster. All right, please continue.
Thanks, Daryl.
He's never going to live that down, is he?
I like it. Anyways, please continue.
Dude, it was a hype. It was a hype moment. It was freaking sweet.
Right. Bless you, Trevor.
Don't worry, Stream didn't hear it.
Oh, are you sure? Because I sure heard it.
Yes, because I muted on vMix, but not Discord.
Oh, man. He got you.
Got me good.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, Bob, go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, like we were talking about with the ideal world with Congress, this was a launch system that was very much congressionally involved, which, if we're being honest, is pretty much the same for most NASA-built vehicles, including the shuttle, including Saturn V. I mean, it's taking as many different places in the U.S. and giving them jobs as much as they can. So it's just as much a jobs program as it is a launcher vehicle. I think if they can basically prove and say, look, this will create more jobs, then they'll keep launching SLS no matter the cost. Versus, yes, it would be cheaper to fly it on a Falcon Heavy. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. That's, I think, for individuals to decide, but it's just something to keep in mind that right now Congress is funding SLS. If they wanted a cargo variant, they could very well say make the cargo variant and NASA has to.
Can I just be spicy for a second and be mad at the whole jobs program thing? I mean, I understand.
Do it.
I understand that, we want to maintain industrial capacity and expertise, and for that reason, the whole jobs program aspect of programs like the SLS are valuable in and of themselves. I understand that. I wish there was a better way. It's just so annoying to me that we have to spread funding like little breadcrumbs all around to a whole bunch of different NASA centers and a whole bunch of different states so we can make a project congressionally viable. It's just, I don't like how the sausage is made. I like the sausage. It's delicious sausage.
It's orange.
I don't like I don't like how it's made. I much prefer a merit-based system, but then, you lose industry players that are not economically viable, and you lose that expertise and you lose that workforce. So I get it. Mm-hmm. Jobs program, good. Just annoying. I'm annoyed by it.
Now, Jack, I got a question, though. What do you think the Apollo program was? Do you think that was a job program?
No, absolutely not. No.
That was arguably the biggest jobs program.
I disagree.
Right. Think about it.
No, I think
really?
Apollo was very much a propaganda and PR thing. It was, to me, not a jobs program. It's not like we didn't have jobs for big aerospace at that point in time. We had the Vietnam War. We had industry churning out machines left and right for a variety of heinous purposes. I don't think we really needed a jobs program at that point in time. Now, arguably, Skylab or Apollo-Soyuz, maybe a little bit more jobs programmy, but stock Apollo, I don't read that the same way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The point that I'm trying to make is that this system can be leveraged to work correctly. That's the whole idea. If we have to, we have to do it for propaganda, so be it, right? Like, I kind of wish we could just be like, hey, let's just go science on the moon. Let's science the snot out of this, please, and just not have a motive for it. But this jobs program clearly works when it's for a geopolitical reason. I mean, people in chat are saying the same thing. You guys are right. The point that I'm trying to get at is, and this is my incessant, I'm going to drive this into everybody's heads until people hate me, and some people probably already do. Sorry about that. It's fine. You're right. I'm annoying. Having these it's clear that this system has worked. It has worked in the past. Everything has gone together to make this thing work, and we put people on the moon. It's arguably the only time we've ever sent anybody to another celestial body, or beyond low Earth orbit for that matter. It was using that type of system. Now, I'm not saying that commercial won't do it. I want Starship to succeed just as much as the next guy and make it so we don't have to do this anymore. That'd be really sweet.
I think there's a huge difference, though, that 50 years has given us. When we went into the Apollo program, we had no idea what the cost of this program was going to be. You have no idea what problems you're going to run into with a program like this. But at this point, that's much more well known, especially for lunar missions. And that's why we've seen them switching from cost plus, which made sense in Apollo, to fixed price, which makes sense for HLS. And that's really what I think is pushing the space system forward. Commercialization of everything NASA has done has been hugely successful. Commercial cargo resupply of ISS has surely, Sawyer is on screen right now. I'm sure he can tell you how much cheaper Dragon is compared to Shuttle for resupply. And same with commercial crew. Shuttle, again, very expensive and having redundancy. And I'm sure that the same is going to be done for HLS. And I think that, again, the more we remove NASA's making of rockets, the better humanity will be. NASA's been doing phenomenal work in the science program and not so phenomenal work in the rockets, on the rocket side. So we should let them do what they're doing really, really well.
Yeah, but how much would Dragon be able to do now if it wasn't for what was learned from NASA?
Yeah, exactly.
All the shuttle, ISS rendezvous. I mean, the fact that literally, we were just talking about this in one of the Discords a while back, the fact that there was about, 8 shuttle missions that carried what was known as the Dragon Eye at the time, which was a test version of the docking system that SpaceX ended up using so that Dragon would be able to dock autonomously. I mean, you're literally using NASA tech to help with the private sector. I mean, yes, SLS is a lot of recycled shuttle parts and parts of shuttle that should then continue to be recycled that aren't, but that's a whole nother story. But, I mean, you're talking apples and oranges there as well.
Yeah, for sure. But the whole point is we learned a ton, NASA learned a ton through Gemini, Apollo, Shuttle, that allows us to now have that knowledge at the commercial level, allowing us to have these cheaper alternatives.
But at the same time, commercial companies are typically reliant upon a board of directors or, a stock price, which doesn't always translate into better deliveries, I guess. I mean,
Not
yes,
if they're a
NASA,
private
you have
company, baby.
I mean, yeah, NASA, you have to answer to the federal government and the U.S. taxpayer, which in the end, I think adds a little bit more, just accountability-wise, but that adds delays, that adds the cost. But that's my personal thoughts on it. I love commercial spaceflight, but, NASA still has to have its part in the game.
I don't think really anybody is arguing that. I just think that there are efficiencies to be had on the commercial market, and I would argue that we should take advantage of those efficiencies. Yes, there are trades. Yes, Europa Clipper will take longer to get to Europa, launching on a Falcon Heavy, and there are trades that you make with a decision like that. But I mean, there's not even an SLS for Europa Clipper, so kind of moot.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the SLS program isn't a fragmented disaster. The way it kind of came together through, political infighting and stuff is just. But I still think there's an argument to be made. Like, NASA's original purpose was to develop technologies and then, have them go into the commercial sector. I think at this point with low Earth orbit, yeah, we're at that point, but maybe not necessarily for, going back to the moon. Now, don't get me wrong. If Starship comes along and it does everything that Elon says, then maybe NASA about buying some of those and operating them themselves. Like the whole thing with commercialization is operation of craft versus not. Like, an in-house mission would be a rocket that's built by commercial contractors and operated by NASA. Right now, it's just the spacecraft being built, not the entire launch vehicle. I think in that regard, you get some real good symbiosis there. That does work. But if we're going to push the edge, like the commercial market can't move something out to the past the asteroid belt on a reasonable schedule, right? Not reasonable, I'd say on a quick schedule, like what NASA could do with their own operated rocket. Right now, once again, Starship is kind of the ace in the hole here. If Starship does it, on orbit refilling expendable Starship, make it happen. That'd be awesome. I kind of want that. That'd be sweet. Maybe NASA will operate stuff in the future. But I still think that having NASA's science program kind of commingle and integrate in with their human explorations program and use this super heavy launch vehicle, which has, that favors scientific missions that are going on one-way trips because it's an expendable vehicle. You're going to have more delta V. You can shoot it off further. Starship, you're going to have to refuel, put it on a trans-Martian injection or a trans-Jovian injection or wherever, right? And that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of filling. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And expendable vehicle favors scientific exploration. And I think getting these things to commingle together gives you more budget for SLS, and then we won't have this crazy fragmented program that we have. Like, Jack, I do agree with you. It's absurd that we don't where's the next one? Where's the next one? Where's the one after that? Because Saturn V. Trevor mentioned cost plus. Saturn V was developed on a cost plus program, but they block bought for a fixed price. They bought 20 Saturn Vs, 20 of them. Some of them are still around, which is, arguably, I think they should be at the bottom of the ocean, but that's another story. But yeah, it's kind of like, I don't think this is as much of a win as everybody thinks. I think this is setting a pretty gnarly precedent for science programs to just get picked off. Because congressional funding is always fighting. The more politically sustainable you can make it, the better it's going to, the less likely it is going to get canceled. Look at SLS. Look at how many fingers are in that pie. That's, these jobs programs work for a reason. That's your sustainability. And that's why I asked, is Apollo a jobs program? Because that was arguably the biggest jobs program. The point is that you can leverage the system to work correctly. You just need everything to kind of come together. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part that we're dealing with.
I think the word the term jobs program has kind of a bad connotation about it because it certainly implies inefficiency,
absolutely.
right? We think of a jobs program, we think just trying to get as many people working, not necessarily in the most efficient way, but that's not necessarily the case. And in some ways, our Apollo was, I agree with you, perhaps the biggest jobs program there was because it just got so many engineers working and we made some great technological advancements. But there's nothing saying that can't be done at the commercial level as well. Right? That commercial level, we're seeing that with Blue Origin, with SpaceX, with Rocket Lab, with Sierra Space, with all of these companies getting people to work more efficiently. And that's where I really think that this is a win, is if you have NASA giving out contracts at a fixed price, so you get the increased efficiency of being a commercial entity while still getting some of the government funding. To me, it really seems like a win-win the way that NASA has been structuring these more recent missions.
Yeah, dude, I'm not saying that it isn't a win. It's just we had to do stuff like Apollo. We have to do stuff like SLS. We had to get rid of the shuttle and then commercialize low Earth orbit to get to this point.
Absolutely.
NASA should, if NASA's working on beyond low Earth orbit infrastructure right now, something like SLS, eventually, I wouldn't mind handing that over to the commercial industry too. But until that point, I think it's a little bit premature to do it because it leaves a flank open for people to come in and be like, this program's on a commercial provider, or like some crazy politician come in, this is on a commercial provider. I'm like, nope. You know what I mean?
But I think what the difference is launch has successfully proven, or commercial entities have successfully proven launch. And even with ULA and SpaceX into deep space at this point. Whereas commercial entities have not successfully been able to push what past what NASA has already done yet. And that's why we're seeing that HLS is with NASA. That's why we're seeing that any Mars planning is going to be with NASA, right? That's something where you really need that government accountability and that government cost plus check where, we don't know how expensive it's going to be to get to Mars. The only one who can realistically fund that is the taxpayer. So I think working with the commercial partners while still being able to have that blank check, if you will, really is the way that these programs need to move forward.
Yeah, I can get behind that. But NASA needs to retain their own capability. There needs to be some stability up on the forefront there, like moving missions over to commercial providers after NASA's kind of done the legwork. I think is a great idea. That's really, really smart. We should do that more, right? The commercial element has the commercial market has its own place, but it needs to all work symbiotically. And I think getting rid of SLS doesn't do that. That favors commercial way too much, like way too much, to the point where now you have you're having the commercial market leverage science, and I don't think having the commercial market compete over science is wise. I think it'd be much better to do our scientific research beholden to the taxpayer. I think that's a much more accountable system,
But I guess I fundamentally disagree with your point that you're sacrificing the science to the lowest bidder. You're sacrificing the launch, not the science itself. NASA is still making the payload. They're still the ones getting all of the data, deciding when it's going to, what research groups get to access it and whatnot. It's just the launch that you're deciding is more cost efficient to go on, whether it's ULA or Blue Origin or SpaceX, whoever.
Well, with certain vehicles, you have to make different compromises. And I think that's kind of what EJ is getting at, is for each launch vehicle you choose, there are the pros and the cons. Like, for example, for Europa Clipper, you're talking about something that is going to take much longer to actually get there, and you run the risk of degrading the life of the spacecraft just in that time traveling point, the fact that it's being exposed to the elements. Not a major dramatic thing, but it's just something to keep in mind. I think that's really what it comes down to. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be advantages to flying on Vulcan versus New Glenn versus, Falcon Heavy / Starship. But for right now, that, I think, is what he means by the sacrifice of, by choosing a different launch vehicle, you're losing time to actually go out and do the science.
Bingo. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And the more time these missions are just waiting in the wings in coasting, right? You're giving people more fodder for them to be like, oh, what has this mission done over the? You're giving it fodder to get axed. You're actually kind of inadvertently asking for less scientific funding that way. I don't think that's smart.
But on the other hand, if you're saving $3.6 billion by moving from SLS to Falcon Heavy, that could go toward another scientific mission. That could go toward having Congress not, completely decide to kill that program. That's a lot of money that Congress could choose to do something else with, hopefully in spaceflight.
Yeah, that last part. Hopefully in spaceflight. Yeah, that last part. I agree. Dude, ideal world, man. That'd be great. But that last part, when the shuttle program got axed, where did its budget go? In the Constellation program, when that got axed, where did its budget go? That's, I don't know, man.
Where did its budget go?
That's what I mean. You know what? It's going to sound screwed up, and it's going to seem weird. Definitely didn't go to SLS, that's for sure. Some of it did, I'm sure, but they said, oh yeah, we're going to give it to the commercial market, do it for a lower price, and we surrendered capability there. See what I'm talking about?
We have a bunch of good questions in
Dude,
chat.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Witch Doctor says, my 2 cents, NASA should focus on building future tech like nuclear engines with the cost plus and let the commercial deal with the more tested stuff.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
in agreement with Witch Doctor here.
I say 2 massive thumbs up to that.
I get it, but at the same time, what are they just, you have a launch vehicle now, I guess, that you can use as a testing ground technically with SLS. It would probably need even more modification and more money, but I feel like that's why NASA would always need a launch vehicle, even if it's not SLS. Just, hey, we'll develop a new engine. Great, let's try it in space. That's NASA's thing is, yeah, we'll test it a million times on the ground, but we'll only certify it once it's in space. As opposed to something like SpaceX, where it's, hey, we'll just launch it. If it blows up, no big deal.
Redbeard is asking, when would there even be a cargo SLS available for anything other than Gateway? It can only launch maybe twice a year, and this whole decade is booked, and most of the next by Artemis.
And that was my point earlier, that if maybe they had stuck with Europa Clipper and MSR, the sample return mission actually staying on SLS cargo, we might have more. I mean, we don't right now, unfortunately, but that was the point of if we had stuck with it rather than moving it to, the cheapest bidder.
David Murray is asking, in a world where Starship does exactly what it says on the tin, I would argue exactly what it says on the steel, but what do you think is the chance that anyone can compete? I mean, if we're taking this question at face value, and Starship does exactly what it says on the tin, nobody can compete. Good luck. But do I think Starship will do exactly what it says on the tin? I think it'll do like 80%, 90%. I don't know about 100%. I don't know that they're going to be able to launch and land a ship and then relaunch it again within the same 24-hour period anytime in the near future. And that's on the tin, right?
That near future is the one that's hard to define.
Right. I mean, next 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very hard. Whenever they talk about the airliner-like launch cadence, I'm definitely a bit skeptical just because there's so much more energy involved that you have to deal with. And that's going to be more stress on your on the entire vehicle and more heating to deal with. But even if Starship only does half of what it's promising, it's going to be game-changing.
You're here.
Don't get me wrong, real quick, Jack. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want Starship to do everything that it should. I want it to basically vindicate the space shuttle because reusable spaceflight is the way to go. For what it's worth, I like examining both sides, both argument, counter argument. I'm as big of a Starship nutcase as everybody else here. Like, I love that thing. I want it to vindicate my space shuttle, please. And I know you do too out there, Chad. I know you do. It's
we have a new poll.
Trust me.
We have a poll in chat. Will Starship do what it says on the tin? Option A is 100% of it. Option B is 80% of it. Option C is 50% of it. And option D is less or none.
I'm going right for Hundo.
I'm going to go with 80.
I'm going to go with
Hundo,
bro. Let's do it.
Can we still call it a Starship, or is it a tin-based product? Like how Breyers is now no longer considered ice cream. Now it's a dairy treat.
Don't get me started on that.
A dairy treat?
Yeah. They had to reclassify it.
It's like chocolate.
Yeah, it's
chocolate things that are not chocolate, but they're chocolate flavored. Anyways, off the rails.
Sorry, back on the rails. Continue.
Moon Train?
No, that was a good poll though. I'm gonna go with 80%.
Now,
and I think Trevor, you're right. 50 and up, anywhere around there, if that's what Starship gets to in terms of capability versus what they're saying it can be able to do, it'll still be game changing. Ideally, it does everything it's supposed to do, but in a world where it doesn't, I think it's still a massively transformative vehicle.
Yeah.
Now, I have another question, boys. If you don't mind, Trevor. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I have another question. Now, what do you guys think? We said is it going to do 60% of what we think it's going to do, 80%, 100%? What if it ends up doing like 120% of what we think it's going to do? What if SpaceX has some crazy Starship missions, like a telescope mounted inside, and we get reusable Hubble, like just that mounted inside the payload bay, or like you see, this can go.
By the way, it would have.
This could go both. Yeah, no, wait, 109, dude, 109.
All right, touche.
Yeah.
104 is shuttle, 109 is SLS, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yay, nerd stuff.
Gotta crank it right to 11.
Elvin, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Coco Cats, gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you for that. Matthias also gifting a red team membership.
Matthias had
Wilbo
a-
Tiberius Baggins, what's up, buddy?
Yes.
With the 5 curly L's, they say, NSF Live, worth every curly L. But wait,
Oh.
this
There's
isn't
more.
NSF Live. This is no longer NSF Live. This is the Flame Trench, baby. So activate your deluge system or get burned.
I'm Starship Flight 1.
Yeah, the stinger. Do the stinger again. Do it again. Yeah. And that answers Fishy in chat, their question. What is the Flame Trench? It's the Friday show. It's what we're calling the Friday show now. It's now the Flame Trench. Enjoy.
It's the thing under the rocket.
I was just about to say, yeah. It's the thing that moves the flame away from the rocket when they don't use steel plates.
We're actually going to talk about a flame trench in a bit. On the flame trench.
Yes.
Spoiler.
We are going to talk about a Flame Trench. Well, I think with that... Oh, really quick. Christopher, thank you for the store purchase. They say, go Starship, go ship 29. What do they get? What do they get from the store? Is it going to pop up? Is it going to pop up? I don't see it. All right, either way, thank you, Christopher, for the store purchase, and Matthias also for the super chat saying Starship will do 130%. We'll see. We shall see.
My guy.
Indeed.
I want Starship Skylab.
Yes.
This is
yes, please.
This is my weekly reminder that Skylab, the pressurized section minus the telescope mount and Apollo docking ring, that the S4B pressurized section, that could fit inside of Starship's payload bay. Just putting it out there.
The videos
just
of
for some
astronauts
reference.
on Skylab, to this day, it's just like mind-blowing how
They're
cool
doing
it
a
is,
flip.
how much space they have for activities.
Well, yeah, the idea of launching that all up almost in one, though, EJ, worked so well. There was no issues whatsoever once it was deployed in orbit or anything. No.
Just don't put solar panels on it. It'll be fine. You know,
Sorry for the sneeze.
if
I
one of the
almost
solar
died.
panels just fell off. No, that's all right.
Just
bless
fell
you.
off, that's all. And it was like,
Yeah, just fell
100
off.
degrees in there when they first actually went inside, yeah.
Hey, they were trying to crank it to 11. Just wait. No. Sometimes cranking it to 11 has some, adverse effect, but this is why we test.
I did
Why
want to
you
see a Skylab boost by shuttle, but again,
Yeah, something
Not to-
tile densification, something.
All right, well, I think that is all of our questions for Clipper.
Jack sneezed so hard it swooshed the camera to EJ.
I tried so hard to get the sentence over with before I sneezed. I tried so hard.
Dude,
can
when
see-
you
I
went
can
off
probably-
the camera, it swooshed with you.
If you go back, you can probably see the terror in my eyes as I realized that I'm not going to be able to forestall sneezing on camera. That was great.
that's why I
That's
tried to
fantastic.
jump in as quick as I could so Kevin could cut.
Thank you. Cool. Well, let's have you jump in, Sawyer, and tell us about our next topic, which is New Shepard is preparing for its next flight, the NS-25 mission. So fill our brains with knowledge, Sawyer, as you so often do.
Well, I'll roll in, all right? How about that? So, yes. Fancy. So, New Shepard, the suborbital launch vehicle created by Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' company, is finally getting back to flight after a previous failure on their last mission, which, keep in mind, that one thankfully had no people on it. That was a science mission where you had a burn through on the engine, which caused the vehicle to almost explode, but thankfully the onboard launch escape system performed exactly as planned, and it then parachuted down safely, and the capsule was good, and if there were people on board, they've said that the crew would have been just fine, thankfully. So after over a year of work on it, and redesigning that, and then getting the approval, they are now ready to fly again out of the middle of nowhere, Texas. And not Starship, not Starbase, but other side of Texas.
And Horn, right?
So they have announced that there will be the NS-25 mission, their 7th crewed flight, will take off from Launch Site 1 this coming Sunday, May 19th. The launch window opening at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. The crew is already in West Texas getting ready for this upcoming launch. And we've got, pardon me looking away from the camera for a moment, just so I could read the names of all the people that will be on board. We've got Mason Angel, Sylvian Chiron, Ken Hess, Carol Schaller, Gopi Thodakura, and one of my personal favorites on this flight, Ed Dwight. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because NASA, way back in the 60s, originally had plans, essentially, to have the first black astronaut earlier on. So he was recommended by the Air Force to join NASA's astronaut corps. We're talking back in 1961, chosen by President Kennedy. Obviously, he became a big face. He was on the cover of magazines. He became an inspiration to a lot of people all around the country, and then never ended up flying in space. This is finally his chance to actually go into a suborbital trajectory and experience weightlessness and the view of the Earth from above the Kármán line. So I'm really excited to hear his perspective on this after all these years of waiting, in addition, of course, to the other crew members, and it'll be exciting to finally see New Shepard back in flight with people recovering from an anomaly.
I feel like we've seen a variety of New Shepard crews at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like there's a certain composition of the crew that Blue Origin is going for, and Ed Dwight is absolutely like, yes, 100% Ed Dwight should fly on New Shepard in the same way that Wally Funk should have flown on New Shepard. So I'm all for this like category of passengers on New Shepard that are like should have flown long time ago, but at least they're flying now and get to experience the majesty of weightlessness. So I'm so here for that.
And also, most importantly, is that he's not paying for this seat. This isn't like he's a rich person that decided to do it now. There's a nonprofit called Space for Humanity that is sponsoring him to fly on this so he can finally become an astronaut as he deserved, even if it is a commercial astronaut as opposed to a NASA astronaut.
Here.
Now, Sawyer, weren't there other African American astronauts that were selected? I remember, I think it was Robert Lawrence Jr. that was selected for the MOL program, but he too didn't. And then transferred to Apollo, but he didn't get a seat because they canceled the Apollo program because they could do it for cheaper with potential reusable commercial alternatives.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was going to say MOL also, that was the Air Force's program, not NASA's. So once MOL ended, his chances ended.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, but it took NASA until STS-8 to finally launch an African American astronaut with Guy Bluford. So it was criminal, even though they had a black astronaut from the very beginning. 1961 almost. It's about time he gets to fly.
Heck yeah.
Just gonna go out there and said that would have happened sooner if we didn't cancel the Apollo program. What?
We shouldn't have. We should have. We should still be flying Saturn. Let's go.
I'm in. I like this plan. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, imagine if it wasn't the Saturn V Center, the Kennedy Space Center, because they actually flew the rocket like it was supposed to do.
It's like I said, man, the Saturn Vs that are left, their natural home is at the bottom of the ocean. The fact that they're not there is upsetting. Yeah, you're too good for your home? Yes! Yes!
Don't
My
give
God!
billionaire ideas. They will actually turn it into an underwater hotel.
Hey, I'm okay with this. That would be pretty cool.
Yep, I'm okay with this.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do we think? New Shepard had its anomaly on that last flight, and now they are going to fly humans. It's not like another science flight without humans as a return to flight. The return to flight is with humans. How do we feel about that?
I have thoughts.
Go for it.
If anybody, all right, you guys good? So a little while back, they released an anomaly report as to what happened with the New Shepard rocket, and they said, and you can see this if you go and look at the abort footage. They said they had nozzle burn through. So nozzle burn through happens when you go and change something around, right? They said they had configured different parameters for New Shepard for testing whatever they were testing. I'm sorry, I'm not that well versed in propulsion engineering to know enough to what they were testing, nor do I work for Blue Origin, so I probably wouldn't know anyway. But they said that they had changed some parameters and were running a new propulsion regime on that flight. And that's why they got nozzle burn through. So, I mean, it was a relatively low-risk mission, but also, I mean, I have this thing that I've learned by reading a lot about spaceflight history about being okay with changing parameters of your vehicle during operational missions. That they usually, I mean, historically, that hasn't ended well. Just saying, like, SRB blow by. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's good. Sorry, get that book out.
Step in real quick with just a really quick correction. This is not the return to flight of New Shepard. They had the return to flight on December 19th. So the anomaly was September 12th of 2022, and then it was December 19th of 2023. They had an uncrewed one. This is the return to flight with crew. I just wanted to emphasize that.
Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah.
I'm a big dumb stupid head. Thank you, Trevor.
Good call, man. That's why we love you, Trevor.
I don't love Trevor.
Why not?
What?
I'm
Trevor's
kidding.
cool.
I love Trevor. He's great.
How would you not love Trevor?
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. So yeah, New Shepard. I mean, we have some questions here. Does anyone have any burning thoughts on this mission before we jump to viewer questions?
I mean, I think that happened on the previous flight.
I was trying to think of a joke with it.
I was gonna do it too. Burning. It was too up. Yeah. Oh no.
I was gonna say hopefully not the nozzle or something like that.
Yeah, me too.
That's a good one too.
Me too. Oh jeez.
I wish I had intended that to be like a serve to be hit by either of you, but I did not intend that. So good job. Good job being quick on the ball. Matrix is asking, why did they choose Van Horn over Spaceport America for suborbital flights? I don't think we have like a document that straight up says why. My only inkling is that Blue likes to, for lack of a better phrase, be secretive. They like to sort of work in the shadows and then announce a finished thing. And being somewhere more public like Spaceport America versus in the middle of nowhere at Corn Ranch in West Texas, it would afford them less privacy and secrecy. That's the only thing I would wager there.
I mean, the other thing is sharing a spaceport with somebody else. I'm sure Blue Origin doesn't want to dance around, potential launch overlaps with other, suborbital commercial providers, right? Like Blue Origin wants Blue Origin's own website. Nobody puts Blue in the corner, right?
Yeah.
Nobody puts Blue in the corner.
Plus,
be a good PR guy, EJ.
Yeah.
Also, Spaceport America right now, the main thing is the runway for Virgin Galactic. You don't need a runway. You just need a launch pad and somewhere where there's a very, very, very small chance of a range violation, which, as given the middle of nowhere-ness of Van Horn, it fits perfectly.
Right.
Yep.
And Jay is also saying they also use Van Horn for engine testing. So there is that. They do test their engines there. So to a certain extent, it makes sense to fly from there. So I get that. It's a good question from Matrix.
I have a question for y'all. What do you think? Because I honestly don't know what I think the answer to this question is. But what do you think the future of New Shepard is? Like, do you think Blue Origin keeps flying it even once New Glenn is hugely successful? Assuming it is, let's cross our fingers. Or do you think at some point the Blue Origin decides, this was our test bed to learn a lot for New Glenn. We're just going to be done with New Shepard and retire it.
That's going to be their moneymaker, in my opinion, in terms of the private side of things. You've got New Glenn that will take the actual mission contracts for the big satellites, the larger missions, whereas this is going to be it's another little side hustle. Here's some income from people that just want to fly into orbit. And I feel like the more they end up flying New Glenn and practice that, and the more they fly New Shepard, it may end up getting slightly cheaper for them, slightly cheaper for the customer, and a quicker turnaround between flights that they can really turn it into a money machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I ain't playing devil's advocate on this one. I agree with you. I think they should keep flying it. I think it offers suborbital science is something that's generally overlooked. I mean, look at how many suborbital rockets launch out of Wallops. You know, NASA does a lot of suborbital research, a lot more than people think. And I mean, personally, you know, Trevor, you were talking about leveraging commercial here. This is a perfect opportunity. You want to launch NASA astronauts on a relatively low risk mission. These suborbital hops could be good training as a precursor to an orbital flight or even a beyond low Earth orbit flight in the future. I think that would be a great leverage of the commercial market for training purposes. It's smart.
What I really wonder about, though, is since it's a liquid hydrogen vehicle and liquid hydrogen is known for not being super cheap, what is the cost to Blue for these launches? Can they get when they're launching a lot, can they get the cost down to a price where they're making a good amount of money?
I mean, that's actually, I mean, you're touching on something that's a lot of problems in the commercial market, dude. You know, every launch provider has technical debt. In fact, the only one I've seen ever try to even get close to pushing is SpaceX with, I mean, we talked about the Starlink revenue last flame trench, but you know, everybody goes into a crazy amount of technical debt. It's almost like developing these things is expensive or something. You know, you're not going to get a return on investment for a little while. I mean, so unless Blue has a lot of revenue streams lined up for this thing, yeah, I mean, you're going to be losing it and at best pushing for a little while. But I think the flip side of this, and sorry, you brought this up actually, you know, New Shepard is it's good to learn. Getting propulsive landing down is, you know, learning and understanding how to do a propulsive landing. It doesn't matter if it's suborbital. I mean, Falcon 9's first stage is suborbital. And that comes down and lands, right? And don't get me wrong, I know that New Shepard and Falcon 9 are two different things. I get it, guys. I get it. Just hear me out. The ability to know how to propulsively land something is not an ability a lot of commercial contractors have. So I think that Blue might have gone into a lot of technical debt with New Shepard so it could pave the way for stuff like New Glenn in the future. So I don't think the plan with Blue was ever for that rocket to be even remotely profitable, maybe push at best, right? But now you have the knowledge. Now you have the knowledge in your company, the equities in the company, in the knowledge to be able to build bigger things that could be profitable, like New Glenn.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but New Shepard is, in a lot of ways, like a tech demonstrator for New Glenn's upper stage. There's a lot of commonality there. So they do get to learn a lot and buy down risk and just learn how that system functions ahead of flying it on New Glenn. And I do think that will give them sort of a heads up or like a leg up when it comes time to do New Glenn operations. So my immediate question now for all three of you is, this is the part of the show where I don't ask a chat question, I just ask a Jack question. Would you fly on New Shepard? EJ, go.
Yes.
Sawyer, go.
Yes, very.
Trevor, go.
I would have flown the day after that last failure.
Yeah, I'm 100% there with you. It seems like an incredibly safe vehicle. Every time we've seen them do an abort like this now, was this the second or third time? I forget.
This was
either way,
first actual abort. All of the other aborts had been tests.
Thank you. Yeah, it just seems like I would feel perfectly comfortable flying on New Shepard. I agree with all three of you. I'm glad we're on the same page. Chat, what do you think? Would you fly on New Shep? We'll see what chat says.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are people that aren't fans of the vehicle design, we'll say. But you get to go into space. And I know there's also the question of the whole suborbital, orbital, all of that. Are they actually an astronaut? The whole debate with passing the Kármán line. I mean, give me a chance to do it. I see no reason. And again, if anything, that just proved that the vehicle is even safer.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Let's see. RC Horseman, what's up, buddy? One of those names we see pop up all the time. Gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Matthias, thank you for the super chat. They say, sorry, I meant 700%. I think they're talking about Starship doing what it says on the tin. They're saying it's going to do 700% of what's on the
I'm in. Let's go.
Let's do it. Minor downfall. Thank you for the support. They say, do you think Starship will be able to compete with Ariane 6 and Ariane 7 with nuclear engine?
Wait, what?
I don't.
Wait, what was that last part?
Do you think Starship will be able to compete with Ariane 6 and Ariane 7 with nuclear engine? Is there a nuclear engine planned for Ariane 7? That's news to me.
They haven't even
I feel like
finished
Alex would
building
know
Ariane
this.
6 yet. How are we talking about Ariane
Yeah.
7?
Right.
What he said.
Right. And no. No, I don't think there is even a competition there. I think Starship just wins.
Let's see.
And Blake Alexander, thank you for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. That's super awesome of you, Blake. Another one of those names we see pop up all the time. So if you got a gifted membership, be sure to thank the person that gifted it to you. And yeah, if you want a gifted membership, it's like a setting that you need to turn on, so make sure you have it turned on. But it doesn't have to be like a monetary thing here. Sometimes you just get gifted a membership by a member of our awesome community. We appreciate all of our viewers, whether they can support us monetarily or not. And we definitely appreciate the people who are gifting the memberships, because that's awesome of you. Ooh, we have a new poll in chat. Would you fly on New Shepard? Yes. Cool. Well, before we move on to our next topic, we have to talk about Flight 4 merch, because we have a full stack back at the pad, which means, of course, that we have launched our Flight 4 patch. And boy, is it a beauty. Look at that. Let's just look at that. Would you look at that?
Would you just look at it?
Would you just
look at it?
Look at it.
Jack,
Look
No,
at it.
it's no different than a patch that you would get from a launch provider if you were, like, say, a member of the media or what have you, or an employee of the company. These patches are extremely high quality. They're extremely beautiful. And altogether, they kind of tell a neat story. So you got to love it. And just a friendly reminder that we only order a specific amount of patches, and once they're gone, they're gone. So yeah, if there's one that you like and you want it and it's still in the store, I would not wait to get it. I think we're sold out of the Flight 3 patches. I think we still have 1 and 2, and now we have 4.
you
So,
can tell it's
yeah.
a Starship patch because of the way it is. You know what,
it
Jack?
is the way it is that it is.
That's pretty neat.
And it comes in other forms too: mugs,
pretty neat.
shirts, hoodies, etc. So good job to Pauline and the store team for absolutely killing it with the old patch there for Flight 4. Oh, good deal.
By the way, Dal's pointing out, rightfully so, that these are way nicer than the free handout patches that they give to me. Especially because companies have stopped giving them out now for free too, but that's another story.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. Every now and then you'll get, like, these days you'll get a good one, and when you get a good one from a mission, you're like, oh, they didn't cheap out. But very often you either get none, or you get one that looks like a 5-year-old made it. There, I said it.
Not wrong.
I'm not trying to be mean. It's just sometimes you get a patch and the stitching on it is just very obviously inferior, and the design looks like it was made by a 5-year-old. So yeah, thank you, DOS. Our patches are far superior to that.
Dare I say even nicer than the one that I just got at the last launch attempt for Starliner.
Really? Do you have it on you? Can we see it?
I don't have it on me now.
Sawyer, was it given to you by, like, some famous astronaut or some other way you could, do your usual Sawyer flex?
No, I actually had to buy this one, but I did get to meet astronaut Jeremy Hansen, which is the 106th astronaut that I've now met. So
Nice.
106?
106.
yes.
What percentage of all United States astronauts have you met?
That's
Well,
almost a
there's
quarter.
there was a little over 500 last I checked. Is it now almost 600? Yes, I do spreadsheet my astronauts, and it is color coded. So yeah, I guess that would be
All right,
almost a 1/5 or 1/6 of all of the people that have flown in space.
All right, this has been the weekly Sawyer Flex segment. Sawyer, tell us about Starliner, because it's slipping even more. So fill us in, good buddy.
No, I can't. Sorry, the segment is delayed.
Was it a helium issue? Did you not get enough helium?
I mean, that was a low blow. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, unfortunately, Starliner is continuing to push a little further back. The new launch date now is no earlier than the 25th of May, just after 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So you may remember we talked about it previously where there was the issue with the valve that kind of kept opening and closing more than 200,000 times. So they had to roll it back to the vertical integration facility, the VIF, to replace the valve. They did. They replaced the valve, they repressurized, they retested. Boom, worked perfect. So then ULA goes to repressure test the service module, and it turns out there's a leak. So yeah, there was a leak in one of the hydrogen systems. It's like, okay, this isn't good. So they have now looked into what the issue was. They believe they have fixed the issue now so that it is no longer leaking. However, it doesn't seem like they know exactly why the leak caused. So they're taking more time to review it and to make sure that, in addition to learning why, that if this does happen again, is there, it would be fine in orbit, they said, but is there enough redundancy just in case? Are the redundant features adequate enough that if it does fail, it's like, okay, we're comfortable with the backups that we have. All of these are discussions that now need to be had with the NASA teams, the ISS teams, the ULA teams, and the Boeing teams.
Fun. I mean, I'm not sure
Healy,
what...
Fun.
My bad. I got my elements wrong. I forgot. 1, not 2.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's okay. Easy
2,
mistake.
not 1.
Yeah, they're
I'm trying to
cousins, dude.
remember
It's fine.
the Star Trek quote. It was like 1 4-eyes circle something. There's a Healy. Anyways, I need to watch Star Trek again. Anyways, I say fun because it's annoying to have these delays, but you know what? We're not going to trifle around with people on a capsule. I think any amount of delays here, like we can be annoyed or disappointed or what have you, but you don't want to not take launching humans seriously. So I'm all for it.
I mean, just think if they had launched it, now you'd have this problem on orbit. That's would not be good. I'd rather fix it down here. It's easier.
Right. So, immediate question, since we have the poll in chat,
Hit me.
would you fly on New Shepard? 61% saying yes, 39% saying no, which is actually far higher than I expected for no. Would you fly on Starliner? EJ, go.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sawyer, go.
Are we talking this particular flight or Starliner at any point in the future?
Like an idealized Starliner that performs perfectly? No. Starliner as we know it right now, would you fly on Starliner?
I'm going to be the controversial one. No, I would not.
Trevor?
I don't think so. I don't want to. I know the Boeing team has worked incredibly worked incredibly hard on the spacecraft, but the 3 flights that we've seen so far have not filled me with confidence. That it is honestly scary how close Starliner has gotten on several occasions at this point, and still they found massive issues. Like, it was ahead of OFD2, that they were 2.5 hours or so from launch before finding out that 13 of their 24 valves were stuck. How is that found so late? How is the fact that their parachute system wasn't adequate found so late? That really concerns me, and I would not fly on it yet. That said, I really, really hope that following the previous events, NASA and Boeing teams have made sure that this will be a safe vehicle, and I really can't wait to see the astronauts fly and get back safely.
Dude, I'm gonna have to go in the other direction. I think that them finding all these problems now is going to make the capsule safer, and I'd prefer that they find these problems now. You got to, Neil Armstrong,
absolutely.
first man, fail down here so you don't go up there. Like all these
I'm
things.
not saying that them finding the problems is what concerns me. That I have no problems with. It's the fact that they were 2.5 hours from a launch before noticing that over half of their valves were stuck. That to me doesn't seem like a good thing.
Yeah,
I mean, but they caught it, dudes. That's the whole point. You're not going to check the valves until you get to the point in the mission where you have to check them, and when they check them, they didn't work.
I mean, you could probably say the same thing about the mission elapsed timer. It's like you probably should have done end-to-end testing and not called
that
it right
one, yeah.
before.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with that one, yeah.
That one's even worse because that one they didn't find out till it was in orbit and then in the incorrect orbit. And sure, they said had there been crew on board, they could have caught that and fixed it. And crews on the ground did at least save the mission enough that they could test out the vehicle in orbit rather than its original plan of docking at the station. But it's just, I think down the line, yeah, I applaud, people like Suni and Butch for actually flying aboard this, and the first couple flights are going to be interesting. Beyond that, though, like if it were to be an Inspiration 4 type mission thing, I think it's be the same thing. We wait for the capsules to get a little more experience, and then down the line, I would consider flying it. As it is, right now, let them catch all these errors, especially with people that were former naval test pilots.
Yeah, there you go.
Then allow civilians or just other ordinary people on board with a little more comfort knowing there's less chance of an anomaly.
See, I like solving complicated problems, so yeah, look, I'll be the guinea pig. Let's go. Let's go. That's why I would. No, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like these problems aren't there. And, you can always ask the question, like, what other problems are going to arise during your test flight? But then again, that's the point of being a test pilot. Let's go. Somebody's got to be the guinea pig, dudes. That's what's going to make it safer. Let's go. I'm in.
All right, somebody Photoshop EJ's face on a guinea pig, please.
The poll. Yes. Put him in Jack's kayak.
Just like this. Yes.
Stop it.
I'm in.
Stop
please.
it. The poll is actually interesting. Would you fly on Starliner? 28% say yes, 72% no. So it's almost like the act of what people said for New Shepard. That's kind of amazing.
Wow.
Cool. Well, so Sawyer, Starliner is now when?
It is now no earlier than, as we've seen being the key word through all of this, May 25th at 3:09 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time.
Good deal. All right, well, hopefully no more issues pop up and we can get this mission underway and get Starliner checked out with a crew on board.
And selfishly, I'm a little happy that it moved because they literally moved it to the day that I was having surgery. It's like, I planned this, like a month in advance, and of course it delays to that exact day. It's like, Murphy's Law there. But it's moved, and I agree with moving it all in terms of safety, and selfishly, thank you, my random voodoo to all the gods to have it delay work.
I just picture you with
like
a stuffed Starliner capsule, and you're just like sticking needles in it, like, please, like in the service module.
I literally was out to dinner with my parents and grandparents, and we all shook our fingers at the sky in hopes of a delay, so it worked. So thank you to my parents, my grandparents, and magic fingers.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Do not wrong Sawyer.
Or I will then break out the jazz hands.
Jazz hands. Trevor, do jazz hands.
No.
I'll do metal hands instead.
I'm not continuing with the show until you do jazz hands.
Okay,
We'll
do Taylor jazz hands.
Then.
Go. Taylor jazz hands. Go.
What?
It was a good try, EJ. It was a good try.
I don't know.
You put
maybe
Taylor
putting that in front of it. Yeah.
I thought.
There it is.
Sure.
Dude, I thought it would work. Oh, all right. There we go.
Background did it. There you go.
Yeah, no, we're good.
We're good. All right, moving on. Telstar 86.
Got to get out of your shell, man. Yeah, Trevor's got to get out of your shell and fly on Starliner with me. Let's go. Come on, man. Anyway.
The shell's not the issue. It's the pressure vessel inside.
Okay.
Sawyer.
All right.
Sawyer, why are you the way you are?
Well, it all started in 1994.
Oh my God! Stop! Telstar 86. Thank you for the support. They say ordered my 4th patch to add to my collection. Thank you, Telstar.
Yeah, baby. Telstar, good name.
Anonymous with a store purchase. And looks like they got the patch, and they say fresh patch for the Pacific Northwest. Keep the trench flamey, y'all.
Oh, we're full IFT1, just throwing rocks out in here, man.
Yeah, full on rock tornado right now. Maybe we should have called it the rock tornado. Thomas,
giant
with
gaping
store
hole
purchase?
after destruction.
Yeah, there you
Whatever
go.
the name.
Yeah.
Thomas also grabbing the Flight 4 patch. They say, yay, another flight patch, number 4. Thank you for that. Michelle also grabbing the patch. They say, we'd love to be able to watch SpaceX online anytime. We thank you guys for all your hard work. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. A lot of work goes into maintaining the 24/7 cams. And just everything we do. All the different reporting that we do. It's a lot
By
of
the way,
work.
Jack, we need you
Michelle,
to go out and clean a bunch of lenses and mow the lawn again and make them level and yeah.
okay, I'll get right on it as soon as I'm not sick and hating life.
Hey guys, I was just thinking, I got an interesting question. And I get it, we have the benefit of hindsight here. But if you cast your mind back to May of 2020, would you guys have flown on Dragon on the first time?
Yep.
Really, especially after the uncrewed capsule popped?
The spicy
but
orange
there's
cloud.
IFA.
That was way overpressured, and also being there for the in-flight abort test. Yes, absolutely.
Really?
I would have flown on the in-flight abort test.
I wouldn't have pushed it that
All right.
far, but
Let's party, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, I thought we're doing the guinea pig thing. Like, would you
Yeah, no,
not
I'm
want to
in.
do that?
Oh no,
Give
I
me
would.
9
I would have too.
Gs. Give me 9
Dude.
Gs straight to the
But
face
didn't
right
IFA
now.
only pull like 4 or something? I remember being like blown away by how not quick the acceleration was, since they have this like since it's liquid fueled, they can really control the rate at which they get away from the vehicle, and if they don't need to get away from the vehicle super quickly, they don't. And I think IFA was only around 4, but I would have to go double check that number.
All right, 4 Gs.
I've been on thrill
to the
rides
face.
that pull more G's than that. Let's do it. I'm in.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go, bro.
Matthias,
I'm
thank you for the
using
support.
5G, not 4G. So.
Oh my God, Sawyer. Matthias, thank you for the support. They say, we'll all die. Let's pray it's on a rocket. I mean,
Yeah,
all right.
Test flight. Test flight. Test flight. Amended to test flight. I'm in. Let's go.
But then the test flight didn't go well if you died.
Yeah, but it's safer.
Kevin, let me back.
Oh,
This is
you
apparently
got rid of Sawyer.
It's apparently
We
a
ejected Sawyer.
punishment for making too many puns.
Wow.
Can we server mute him as well?
I can't. I can't, but maybe Kevin can.
I'm going to play devil's advocate again this time. I think we should bring Sawyer back. I got
I
your
like
back,
that
buddy.
idea, EJ.
Yep. See? EJ doesn't have crazy ideas all the time. Or something.
You know what I could do, though?
What?
I saw what
Say-
you did there, Kevin, with
Oh,
Sawyer.
that was in a scary place. Oh, I'm glad I'm back.
What is even happening? Trevor, tell us about Starship.
Starship. Besides that they
It's
were meant
stacked.
to fly.
We have a full stack again. Jazz hands. Can we get you to jazz hands for a full stack?
I'll do the Sawyer's not even doing them.
Yeah, I am. I'm trying to get my hands in the box. Anyway.
Yeah, so as you can see on screen, that is the world's most powerful, tallest rocket, fully stacked, ahead of Flight 4. We didn't. SpaceX performed a partial wet dress rehearsal this week where they loaded all 4 tanks with just a little bit of liquid oxygen and liquid methane. And now we are expecting them early next week to get into the full wet dress rehearsal. All indications were that the partial load seemed to go pretty good. So now they'll load the entire thing. We're thinking it's probably no earlier than Monday. We have a bunch of road closures, if I remember correctly, for next week. But it seems like they're still doing a little bit of work on the vehicle. But this is all looking good for Flight 4. Yeah, this is exciting.
I mean, the
I
immediate
can tell.
question from Aviation Nerd 6000 is when Flight 4? I mean, we're into the wet dress campaign with the Flight 4 vehicles. So what is it? 2 weeks? A month? Less?
Yeah, so
more?
this is one thing we did hear a little bit from the regulatory side, and keep in mind that the holdup seems to be hardware still. But from the regulatory side, I believe it was, sorry, I'm forgetting his name, Christian Davenport posted on X saying that they're roughly 3 to 5 weeks away from a launch license is the current expectation. So that would say that we're no earlier than early June or so for Flight 4, which this also lines up roughly with what Elon had posted on X a few weeks ago, saying 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, I think at this point, all indications are kind of in the early to mid-June timeframe, assuming that they get the regulatory approval and assuming that they finish work on the vehicles. Right, we've seen, if you look at the ship, they've done a ton of heat shield work to it, but there's still a lot left to do. Right, there are some patches of tiles that are just missing that they'll need to install, and some ones that they need to finish going over with the suction cups to check each one individually. But hopefully, this all means that with them putting this much work into the heat shield, that we'll see this thing smack into the Indian Ocean, because that's the plan. Smack into the Indian Ocean after surviving re-entry, not like in lots of pieces.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
I like this plan. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Then we had a goodbye to say this week. Suborbital Pad B, where SpaceX has been doing all of the ship static fires, flew several of the suborbital hops. Yeah, we will also do that. As you can see, it is going away. We're expecting this area to be used for the second orbital launch pad, which is more exciting, but still kind of bittersweet to say that so much enjoyment came out of it with those suborbital hops. And all of the ship static fires will be moved to that Massey ship static fire stand where they have been building this enormous flame trench, and the pad just looks like it's much better suited for the large amount of testing that we're going to see going forward. So this is what we've been expecting for a long time, that as SpaceX gets more and more, as these vehicles get more and more mature, they're going to want to also mature the ground infrastructure, and the suborbital pads are old, and better use of that land is for a whole another orbital pad.
Yeah, they did not waste any time after the last static fire on that pad. They immediately started tearing it down as soon as they got Ship 30 off the pad. And they've even started pulling out some of the tanks from the suborbital tank farm. So, venerable suborbital pad B is gone. It's not even not long for this world. It's just gone. I mean, they've torn it apart already.
No, it's gone.
Yeah,
Pad B is gone.
Back in the day, I think this is actually how I started talking to Ian and some of the other NSFers of going over that launch pad, the plumbing of the suborbital launch pad, and trying to figure out where was the methane, where was the oxygen, where was the nitrogen. So it's definitely bittersweet.
I mean, it's definitely a beautiful pad to photograph a static fire on. And you know what? I forget what viewer it was that said this, but I think it was last week when we were lamenting the loss of suborbital pad B, somebody said, hey, but it's not going away. It's being upgraded to an orbital pad. So yeah, you know
Copium.
what? I'm here for it.
Also, who created the new poll? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sawyer to be placed in Hun prison. Yes, despite being an NSF celebrity, spelled wrong. No, he finishes his sentences and maybe short spell in the penitentiary.
Did Patrick write the poll?
I'm going to go with the last one.
I picked the no one. Trevor, what did you pick?
I'm voting to punish Sawyer to the fullest extent of the law.
I thought we were friends.
Yeah, but Kevin Michael Reed has too much power. I need to agree with him.
Unless that was Chris. And by the way, the spelling, in case you didn't notice, was also a pun.
So yeah, celebrity. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Did I mention I'm not feeling well and my brain isn't working?
So rockets, like the one on screen.
Now, okay, yeah, I'll be the one to reel us back in, which I don't know what that says about you guys, but anyway. So I don't know what that says about you all. Moon train. Yes. Okay. Cool.
Moon train.
I said this last week. I'll say it again. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. It's cool that they built this. It's cool that we got to see it being built. Whatever. We're gonna get better stuff out of it. We're gonna get an orbital launch mount out of it. Erase it like a blackboard. Let's go. The one constant has been hopping, and people will come, Ray.
Hopper.
Whatever. Get rid of it. It has been erased like a blackboard. Rebuilt and erased again. But Hoppy has marked the times.
Hopper.
Yeah. If you got that one, man, good for you. But honestly, get rid of it. Build a bigger pad. Everybody's saying, no, we don't want SLS. We want more Starship. This is the way to get more of that. I want more of that too. You don't understand. I'm greedy. Give me more rockets. Please. Bring it on.
It's more better.
Let's go.
So, yeah, I mean, that's sort of where we're at with Flight 4. We can do some questions about Flight 4, but also we have to talk about old Sparky. So we need to put a pin. We need to put a pin in old. I know Kevin already showed it on stream, but let's do a couple of Flight 4 related questions and then talk about what the heck happened with Ship 31, because dare I say, yikes.
You bet.
Concur.
We don't need any more of these. River Dave, this is for EJ, is asking, would the moon train have a whistle? Because in space, no one can hear you honk.
Yes. Sure.
All right,
Wouldn't
good
a whistle just be RCS at this point?
I mean, also yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think of that. Yeah. Flip that one around.
What is an RCS thruster if not a fancy whistle with high ISP?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, this is good.
Does that mean when a thruster throttles, it's like a slide whistle? Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can go there. That's good.
Cool.
I'm sorry, I took this off the rails?
Hey, we're talking about trains. It's fine. We're still on the rails.
Yeah, by nature, trains are on rails, Sawyer.
Yeah,
unless it's a moon train, in which case it may or may not be on rails, as previously discussed.
Okay, after that pun, you better not vote for yes.
Let's see. Bob Fillmore is asking, will they build a whole new tank farm or maybe use nitrogen from the current farm? What do we think they're going to do tank farm wise? Are they going to plumb orbital pad B into the current tank farm, or you think they'll build a whole new other tank farm? Trevor, you go first.
Yeah, I want to hear Trevor.
This is kind of the big conversation that we've been having. I think long term they'll probably have one tank farm that's big enough to have several launches in it that's shared between them. But I would imagine they're kind of going to slowly move to that. So at first, maybe having a separate one, and then as they continue to replace the hardware on pad A, they kind of start to migrate them. But I don't know for sure. I could honestly easily see it being either way.
I was kind of, Trevor, I want to play this one off. I want to see what you think about this. I was kind of thinking the second tower, we got the report, with the longitude and latitude about where the tower is because they filed an FAA, the FAA report. Forgive me, I'm spacing on what it's called for permanently to have the tower to show up on maps so pilots know it's there, right? Mm-hmm. So we got the position of the tower from it. And I was kind of thinking it's kind of a weird spot. Jack and I were talking about it last week. We were like, they're going to build it in the parking lot. But, looking at where they're drilling pilings now, it's kind of behind, it's due west, I think, of where suborbital pad B is now. And that's where the tower is going to go. It kind of looks like where the OLM might be, that they might use some of the original plumbing and build the OLM to line up with the former suborbital pad B's plumbing, and then you have the tank farm right there. Just keep building it. I mean, SpaceX kind of just goes willy-nilly with the tank farm. I mean, they tried to build a nice uniform one, and that didn't work. I mean, I think it would make sense for them to pick up on the suborbital pad B plumbing that's right there. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think the suborbital plumbing is almost certainly going. That's so old and meant for just something substantially smaller scale. But
you said it's old. It's been there for like a year, like what, 2 years now? But anyway, continue.
SpaceX
Like
old.
5 years. Yeah.
It's old in SpaceX time. Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, apparently the Mars wall is old in SpaceX time, and they just built that. So.
Yeah.
So what does that make the Vandenberg TE? That thing's been there since 2012.
How has SpaceX not done a throwback style TE yet at Vandenberg? It blows my mind. And
Dude,
how are they getting quick turnaround times with it? Like Slick 4 East's quickest turnaround is still like 4 something days. So it's like remarkable.
They
I do
redid
wonder
the reaction frame on
when they start launching from Slick 6 if they'll have an updated TE at Slick 6 or.
Oh, definitely.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, Slick 4 East, by the way, fastest turnaround is 4 days and 12 hours.
How do we even start talking about 4E?
Old style. Because it's old. It's the oldest hardware around.
EJ's trying to throw Vandenberg under the bus?
No, I'm not.
Rightfully
East
so.
Coast, West Coast. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, if your pad's slow, bro, just deal with it. It's fine.
39A's quickest turnaround is 6 days, 18 hours, and 43 minutes.
Only Slick 40s.
2 days, 20 hours.
Thank you.
But if you average them, it's like about the same.
Yeah, about the same.
Per day from one pad. You're talking 2 different launch pads here.
Yeah, doesn't count that way. Yeah.
If we've seen SpaceX do 3 launches in 24 hours, which meant 2 of them have to be from the West Coast.
We are so off the rails.
No, it's fine. Anyway, so Trev, you don't think the plumbing is they're gonna rip it all out and just start over, Blackboard style, just erase the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, SpaceX notoriously is against sunk cost fallacy. For them, it's just better to get rid of it, start over. I mean, we're seeing this at a much larger scale in Florida, where instead of retrofitting the launch ring for whatever changes they're wanting to make, they're deciding to just throw the entire thing out and start over. So I would be very, very surprised if they reuse anything.
We have a question from Eddie asking, which ships in the SN era flew from Pad B? 8 was A, so
9, 11, 15,
9, 11.
I think 15 was B.
I think 15 was B. I think you're right.
Ryan is
Sorry, I was
typing.
enjoying the view of Space Coast ahead of tonight's Starlink launch, and also that they've taken the Starliner logo off of the countdown clock.
Oh, sad noises.
Sad Starliner venting.
Did they replace it with a rough road leads to
Ryan
the stars?
says just 9 and 11. Was 15 really from A?
I guess 15 was from A. Wow.
SN9 and SN11.
So a really good one and a really bad one.
Well, we think SN11 happened from there. No one really saw it. So.
Don't remind me. I will go to my grave being upset that we did not get to see that explosion.
It would have been.
Just imagine a
righteous.
Starship, like 1,000 feet off the ground, coming in belly flop, and then all of a sudden it's just a million pieces. Like,
would have looked like SN4, but in the air.
it would have looked like Firefly, but way lower to the ground and way bigger. Oh, darn it. More questions.
KG, Kevin, and Jet. SN4 took off from A too. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It did.
Yeah. Also, what SN1?
Yeah.
If we're counting that as well.
Yeah. I mean,
at least the
went
forward
somewhere.
dome. The forward dome of SN1.
It went somewhere. You're not wrong.
Alex Labs is asking if we can fly drones near the property even when there's no flight activity. We cannot. There is
Don't
a
do
no
that.
drone zone, both around Massey's and bless you, Trevor. No, there's a no flight zone around Massey's and the launch site at all times for drones.
That would make Elon cry. Don't do that.
Don't do
Kites,
that.
on the other hand,
What?
about heights?
All right.
Oh, yes. CD Knight Cape Town is saying, I guess the real question is, would Trevor fly on Starliner if Taylor Swift was on board?
I will fight to not have Taylor fly on anything to space. I don't
she's
trust.
flying. No, she's
I don't
flying.
trust any single company.
It's not part of the question.
With Taylor. They
He
can.
needs to get to Travis
I'll
Kelce's
fly.
game faster than a jet could.
I'll fly. I don't trust them with Taylor.
Okay, what spacecraft, Trevor? Which one?
If it had to be one,
Yeah, it had to be one. Which one?
probably Dragon.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, the man's consistent, guys.
The look of pained, like, thinking on your face, it's like you're taking this way too seriously.
They better be very, very careful.
All right, good question. Good question. James is asking, is the second tower a confirmed launch tower, or could it be a catch tower? Can we diplomatically put this one to bed? It's not going to be a catch tower.
Why not?
Because it makes no sense. I know a lot of people think it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. Because you're already building a tower. Why relegate it to only catching? Like, you're going to need a second launch tower. Build a second launch tower, and then the catch tower becomes the first tower. When you launch, you have a second tower in case something bad happens to it. Like, I don't understand the impulse that people have that one tower is for catching, one tower is for launch. It's just no, absolutely not.
Okay,
I feel like they should be able to do both.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there, but yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. Is, like I said, like the old commercial in the U.S., "Por qué no los dos?" Why not both? You've got the ability, as you mentioned, you can either catch and land at the same one, or you launch from one and then catch at the other pad, so that if something goes wrong, you still have the capability to launch. You've got all these different options here, so I use them both.
Now, all right, fellas, I have a question. Because, Jack, I agree with you. I agree with you that if you're going to build one. Build the OLM with it. But here it comes. But we know that booster catching is in the critical pathway to get SLS out to the moon, right? They need to be able to land these boosters unless you want to fly 15 times and expend 33 Raptors every single time. That's in the critical pathway of trying to get people back to the moon and landed on the moon with SpaceX's human landing system, right? So you think maybe they'd build out, just build the tower and then, attempt to catch and, line up all the plumbing, but don't build the OLM, catch one, and then build the rest of it. You think they'd kind of be like, okay, pause, land something on there. Well, it's low risk. Or you say, screw it, they build the whole thing.
We're going to get to the first catch before the tower is even completely built, the second tower. I think people are dramatically overestimating the amount of time it's going to take for us to get to the first catch. I think we see the first catch attempt either this year or early next year, and just factoring all things into that, there's no way that the tower would be done before then. So they're going to be launching and landing from the same tower, from Tower 1 and from Pad 1. So it just doesn't make sense to relegate it to catching only. They're already going to be risking Pad 1. They're already going to be risking Tower 1. So I get what you're saying, but fact of the matter is they might as well just build everything in the same way that they did for the first pad, because they're already going to be risking the first pad with catch attempts.
Now, yeah, dude, I hear you. I think that's fair. Now, Kevin, can you bring up the FAA thing again? Now, I want to point out another interesting thing on this FAA document that we have about where the tower is going and how long it's going to take. Because they have the build timeline for this tower, which, I mean, I would assume it's essentially the entire pad, right? They have this build timeline. It's a year. That's it. It's going to be done May 2025. That's what the building, they marked how long they think it's going to take. Now, personally, I don't think it's going to take that long. So, I mean, Jack, that kind of seals the deal with what you're saying, that they'll just crack this thing out completely, probably between Flight 4 and Flight 5, and have it ready by the end of the year. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you?
We shall see. I mean,
the FAA, we have some breaking news that just came in, I
Yeah,
believe, too.
There it is, right there. Yeah.
What is the news, Sawyer?
Well, Trevor got a response from
Not me, Adrian.
Well, Adrian got a statement, from the FAA in regards to the status of the mishap investigation for Orbital Flight Test 3 and its impact on Flight 4. I believe we have the quote of it is, "The FAA is responsible for and committed to protecting the public during commercial space transportation launch and re-entry operations. Today, SpaceX requested that the FAA make a public safety determination as part of the ongoing investigation into the Starship OFT-3 mishap event. The FAA is reviewing the request and will be guided by data and safety at every step of the process." When a public safety determination request is received, the FAA evaluates safety critical systems, the nature and consequences of the mishap, the adequacy of existing flight safety analysis, safety organization performance, and environmental factors. If the FAA agrees no public safety issues were involved in this mishap, the operator may return to flight while the mishap investigation remains open, provided all other license requirements are met.
So what this is saying is SpaceX may not need to close that Flight 3 report with the FAA ahead of Flight 4, assuming that the FAA agrees that the public was never at risk during this last flight. So this could accelerate the timeline that I was actually just mentioning like 10 minutes ago of them needing to wait to close out that investigation. If the FAA agrees to this, they will not have to close out that investigation, and they could launch Flight 4 without that investigation being closed.
Neat. Well, that's an interesting development. I did not expect that. I mean, up until now, the whole mantra has been, no launch until mishap investigation complete. And this could, if the FAA agrees, change that, which is interesting. I mean, could result in more flights faster, right? That's a good thing.
I guess also the question is, what would they consider a public safety risk? And as it says, though, they still have to close out all the other items as well. But I wonder what the definition of safety risk is, and if there's anything that we saw, at least we saw ourselves. I'm sure there's more that happened internally that could be considered a public safety risk.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot to ponder there. But speaking of safety risks, Trevor, you want to tell us about what happened with Ship 31?
Electricity. Is that
electricity happened?
Yeah.
No. Be more verbose.
Okay, if you insist. Yeah, so the other day, Ship 31 was undergoing cryo testing at Massey's. Right, as we were talking about earlier, SpaceX has been trying to move as much of that testing over to Massey's as possible. This has included cryo tests for probably like a year now. And as we were mentioning, static fire tests will be going there shortly. So they were doing the cryo test of Ship 31 when all of a sudden one of our cameras saw some bright flashes.
All of the sudden?
Yeah, all of the sudden.
Isn't it all of a sudden?
All of a sudden.
No, I thought it was all of the sudden.
Yeah, who says all of a sudden?
I guess me, and I guess I'm wrong. Anyways, please continue.
Yeah, you can see that there. Some bright stuff coming from the vehicle. And this is seen from 5 kilometers away. So this is, I don't know, I would say not exactly ideal. Would you agree with that, Jack?
Yeah, not ideal. Electrical arcing on a vehicle. I mean, this is during a cryo test.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was during a static fire or even like during a full stack test, like a wet dress, and you get some arcing like this when there's a bunch of methane and oxygen floating around the vehicle, you're going to have a bad time. A really, 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 really bad time. Like small nuke going off style bad time.
Where would the methane have to be, Jack?
What?
Where would the methane have to be?
Oh, Sawyer. Why?
So I'm just going to move on from Sawyer's pun. This lasted for, I think 30 seconds to a minute, somewhere in there, before SpaceX was able to get it to be done. And then they ended the test there before rolling the ship back to the production site. And it has not done any further testing since this. So this ship is meant to be for flight, let me think, 28 was 3, 29 is 4, 30 is 5, so 31 is 6. Wow. And as of right now, we still think that's the plan. I suspect SpaceX will still end up flying this vehicle. SpaceX is very good about having significant damage happen and then recovering from it. But
yeah, I mean, ship or SN9 just fell over.
Yeah, SN9 fell over and then had some interesting hydraulic fluids, and
SN8 almost exploded. Yeah, all kinds of close calls that were recovered from. But yeah, we have some really important, like super important breaking news. All of a sudden is right. So
it's all of a sudden.
Take that, grammar wizard Trevor. I beat you.
I stand corrected.
I have defeated you.
But is this the British people saying it? Because I don't care what they have to say about the English language.
No, you're American.
Okay, Ian. Okay.
In your face.
I'll go throw some tea in the water just to be safe.
Yes, the activity of my people.
Yes.
Well, for all intents and purposes, we now know it.
Wow.
Are you sure it's not intense purposes?
Also, yes. So, I mean, Trevor, you already answered what you thought if they're going to fly 31 or if it's totaled. EJ, what do you think? Is this? I mean, that's a big electrical arc. I don't know. Is that enough to fry systems on 31 to the extent that they wouldn't fly it, or do you think it'll end up flying still? SpaceX skipping serial numbers notwithstanding.
Dude, it looks like, from the pictures we saw of it rolling back, it looks like that whatever it was, it arced out and grounded out on the ship. If it's just wiring, if the wires got fried and it grounded out on the ship, you just replace the wires and go. So yeah, absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not as easy. Oh, just replace it. It'll buff out. It's fine. It is a spacecraft. You can't just be like, no, let's just replace this part. It's good to go. But I think it's going to fly for the biggest reason, because SpaceX loves their iterative design. 31 had a problem. Okay, put a new wire on there and send it. It's not that consequential, right? Just fix the part and then send it, because you guys, you got to think about like SpaceX and their modus operandi here. They're trying to make Starship like an airplane. And, what happens with a plane, right? You just replace the part. I mean, AMPs, all the AMPs in the chat just went, I know you got to figure out, you do some fault tree analysis, right? And figure it out. But also, SpaceX is doing rapid development here. So if there is something that happens with this, they'll just send another one. They're working on trying to figure out how to mass produce these things. So if one goes wrong, you fix it, and if it doesn't give you good data, all right, the next one will. Just like what we were talking about with SN4 and SN8 and SN10, they kept going until they got some good data, until they got a good baseline, and then they said, okay, let's go on to the next thing. Until SN15 landed. Heck, they're cold, man. They scrapped that thing. Can you believe that? I still can't believe that.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad about it.
I still can't. They're just like, nah, we don't need that. Heritage?
Just wait until they scrap Hopper.
No.
And they won't.
Hopper's forever.
I will chain myself to it like a tree hugger. I think I said this last week. Like, I'll be up at the top of Star Hopper. I'll have buckets. I'll lower down buckets with items in them, and then you can put food in a fresh bucket. It'll be a whole thing, but they won't scrap Hopper.
So, here's my question then. I could still see them using 31. I see no reason not to. I mean, we saw the crazy explosion with Booster 7 that flew. Do you think, given that the rapid turnaround that they're planning between these flights, assuming everything goes right between Flight 4 and Flight 5, they're talking a month or less. Do you think maybe at that point they swap it out for Ship 32 and then Ship 31 flies on Flight 6? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good point, Sawyer. Yeah, I mean, they could just move it back, move it back in the production line. That's really smart. In fact, I think that's probably what they'll do. Good question, man.
Yeah.
I have those every now and then.
Every now and then.
Every single time we've thought SpaceX may switch order, they haven't switched order.
And every time we didn't think they were going to, they did.
What
So-
switched order in the Starship program?
Hey, at least we're consistent, okay?
I thought for sure 16 was going to fly at one point, and then it didn't.
Sure, but that's not switching order. That's just not flying.
Skipping ships is not switching order?
No.
I mean, they've never gone. So, like, after SN9 tipped over, the talk of the town was they're going to move 10 before 9. That didn't happen. And I think there have been other examples with, like, I don't know, Starship history, man. It's been so long.
Like 5 years.
Play the tiny violin.
Sawyer, thank you for grabbing a patch from the store. They say Flight 4 hype. Musical Wolves,
Other Sawyer,
thank you
not me.
for
Yeah, that's the other Sawyer.
super
Hi,
chat.
Sawyer.
They say new full stack. New full stack plushie? No. I mean,
No.
I think we're gonna. I think
No.
there is another plushie in the works. I don't want to leak anything, but it's not a full stack.
As he
Uh,
leaks.
Anonymous, thank you for the store purchase. They got the Flight 4 patch as well. They say, excited for my patch, the start of my collection. Nice. Bideford with a very generous $25 super chat. Thank you, Bideford.
Bye-bye, Bird.
We love
say-
you, buddy.
You're not old. You're
They say-
tenured.
Curiosity, what is the age of all hosts? Some have more history of space than others. FYI, I'm sure I could be mother and grandmother of several. Jack needs some chicken soup. Thanks, Flame Trench. Oh,
Aw.
thanks, Bideford.
Jack
They're-
is turning 382 tomorrow.
And Trevor is 5.
Two.
Yeah, okay, sorry, 2.
See, that's what I was just saying a second ago. Bideford, you are not old. You are tenured.
There you
Okay?
go.
Differences.
There you go.
Jack's
Bideford
old.
cannot be fired.
Yep.
And we already made a whole big deal back in February about my 30th, so spoiler, I'm 30.
There you go. I'm
Wow,
36.
that sucks.
Why am I
Thanks.
36?
You're almost double my age.
Stop it.
Oh, that means I am too. Oh, no. Damn
Yeah.
kids. Trevor, get off my lawn.
Yeah, get off my lawn. Get off all of our lawns, Trevor.
Get off my lawn, Trevor.
Trevor's out here like playing Ding Dong Ditch.
I
like-
would ding
Kids
dong
don't do
ditch
that
you.
anymore. Now he's playing the Fortnites.
Yeah, Ring cameras have kind of ruined that.
That's true. I didn't think of that, but that's true. Pat grabbing a whole bunch of stuff from the store. They got the Flight 1 patch, the Flight 2 patch, the Flight 4 patch. They say 3 patches for 3-year membership. You guys are the best. Thank you, Pat. That's
Aw.
awesome of you. We hope you enjoy your patches. In fact, we know you will because they're so great. Jim Cavett gifting a Red Team membership. Steve Kalovic with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Steve.
Evo.
They say, Sawyer, if you're in space on a mission and something goes wrong like Apollo 13, who, Jack, EJ, or Trevor, would you want to figure out how to save you and why? This is such a good question, and if you don't save me, I'm going to be very mad. But please, don't listen to what I just said. Give us an unbiased answer that includes me.
I feel like I should take my earpiece out so I don't hear your response after I answer. Here's the thing. Jack, you are my S tier. We've already had this discussion. You're on my S tier list of if I'm going into space, you are S tier for sure. I trust your leadership skills. I trust your ability to, troubleshoot and things like that. But when it comes to the knowledge
Are we
of systems
talking about the same Jack?
Trevor, I'm enjoying this. Be quiet. Sawyer, please continue.
But here's the thing. When it comes to knowing the intricacies of every small little valve and how they work and piping and wiring, I feel like EJ has all of us beat on that. So he would know, if you take this wire and move it over here, then it would fix it. So I trust you to command the ship and command the mission and then tell EJ to go fix it.
All right. What does Trevor get to do?
He's too young to fly.
Awesome.
Damn, man, you gonna do him like that?
That's awesome.
Jeez.
Yeah, Ian in the back channel says Trevor would get bored with the situation in 15 minutes. Yes, that is how that works. If you know Trevor, you could be showing him the most magnificent landscape in the universe, and he'd be like, 5 minutes go by, and he's like, what are we gonna do? Let's do something else. This is boring. Like, Trevor,
Yeah,
Should
let's
we
go
play Bed Wars? We should play Bed Wars.
Called it.
I don't even want to be around
what
anymore.
a LAN party is?
He doesn't know. He has no idea what a LAN party is. He doesn't know the glory of spending 4 hours setting everything up and getting everything working and then playing for like an hour and a half before you and your friends pass out because it's like 5 a.m. and it took that long to get everything set up.
What is fun about this?
Had to be there.
Okay, so that was a no. All right, cool. Just making sure.
Matthias, thank you for the support. They say, what's wrong with Ship 31? As Trevor said very succinctly earlier, electricity. Electricity do bad thing.
And magnetism, because there must have been some magnetism.
Thank you, Trevor. Anonymous, thank you for the store purchase. Looks like they got the IFT4 patch. They say, oh yes, the baker made us some more Starship cookies. Great job again with the patches. Wilbo Baggins becoming a Padrat member. Is that Wilbo Tiberius Baggins, or is that a different Wilbo Baggins?
Read it. Read the messages that came from them.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Wilbo, wow, with a 50-pound super chat, say, I've discarded Tiberius. So lovely to be hearing you guys live. All right, Wilbo Baggins. No more Tiberius. Noted. And Matthias gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you, Matthias. Seriously, if you're out there gifting memberships, we appreciate it so much. And it's just a cool thing because you're supporting us and you're helping people to access the member program that might not otherwise be able to. So it's just a cool thing. So thank you for doing that.
Hey, fellas, not to change the subject real quick. You know where I'd put Trevor? Trevor's a console guy. Trevor needs to be a Gene Kranz. That's the place for Trev. Trevor, would you accept your Gene Kranziness?
I don't know who Gene Kranz is.
What the? Get him off the stream. Kevin,
No.
get him off the stream.
Leave.
No,
Shut down
you
his
did
video.
not to say that.
Shut down the video. Trevor is canceled.
Kevin,
It's
replace
over.
him with the Taylor picture, please.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm upset. I'm upset.
I'm so mad right now.
Only considered one of the greatest flight controllers of all time, who was basically in charge of helping to save Apollo 13 while he was on console.
Chat is so mad at you,
Failure
Trevor.
is not an option. Read his book. It's amazing.
And rightfully so, I might add. They are rightfully mad at you, Trevor.
I don't know anything. This should not be a surprise that I don't know stuff about old space.
Unfortunately, it's
Old
not a
space?
surprise, but it's nonetheless extremely disappointing.
What does the S stand for in NSF?
Fun.
I said the S, not the F.
Oh, I heard F.
Oh, jeez.
Trevor,
Oh my God.
Trevor doesn't know who Gene Kranz. Wow.
What is the alphabet at this point?
I was going to say, Trevor, you'd make a really good Capcom, but I
was saying.
I think you need to know who Gene Kranz is to be a good Capcom.
Also, be able to listen and relay.
Oh man, wow.
I was trying to, Witch Doctor. I was trying to set up Trevor because that's good. You have great analytical skills, but you don't know who Gene Kranz is. The heck, man?
We were trying to build you up. We thought we could ride the Trevor hype train, and now we're just
that train doesn't exist.
Apparently
Why do you
not.
build me up, Trevor, just to let me down and mess me around?
I'm sorry, Sawyer.
And you won't get the song reference there either, so it's fine.
Nope.
Buttercup.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note.
What note was that? That's the Devil's Core that was just played there. And not like
yeah.
the Doctor Who episode.
Oh man, Devil's Core, the uranium with the two halves. What?
Anyway, no. It's fine.
Well, there is a Starlink launch coming up tonight. You can see there we are an hour and 26 minutes away from that Starlink mission, 6:59 out of Slick 40. So yeah, stay tuned for
21.
that. Oh yeah, this is going to be the 21st launch of this booster, huh, Trevor?
Yeah, the first 21st flight of a booster, and with a pretty good turnaround time as well. Where is my mouse? Stand by so I can open.
So it's safe to say, this isn't your ordinary Starlink.
Yeah, this will be a 34.95 day turnaround of beats 1062. So overall, pretty good. And for those who like tracking tugs with me, a shortfall of gravitas was tugged to sea by Cygnet Warhorse 1, which is the first time this tug has ever been used on a SpaceX mission, and I suspect I am the only one who cares about that stat.
Wait, Cygnet Warhorse?
I do.
Yes, there's Cygnet Warhorse 3, which is regularly used, but Cygnus Warhorse 1, this is its first mission. Oh, and Alex is saying that it's been used... Hold on, when was it used? I do not have this in my database.
I feel like we need elevator hold music. Ba-da-da-da.
Cygnet
He's checking the
Warhorse
spreadsheet.
1.
The girl from Boca
It's been used for a couple of...
The booster from Boca Chica.
The booster from Boca.
And
This
when
is
it static
cringe.
fires,
Yeah.
it fires.
This
You wanna come on
is
camera
bad,
now?
man.
Yeah, this is really bad.
This is really
Someone
bad.
wants to
But you
come
know
on
what?
Camera, I think.
I'm living it up, dude. We're going to full 9. I'll sing the whole song. I don't care.
Somebody needs to make a booster from Boca Chica, Girl from Ipanema parody. It's just right there. It's right there.
Yes,
it's just
please.
low-hanging fruit. Trevor, any updates there, Mr. Spreadsheet?
No, I do not have this in my spreadsheet, so I have an error if Alex is correct.
What do you mean if? It's Alex.
I have found a few errors in Alex sheets. Most of the time, I'll admit, when we compare, it's my sheet that has the error, but a few times it's been him.
All right, that's fair. All right,
Tried,
well,
everyone. Jake wanted to jump up, but he didn't. So,
Aw.
sorry.
No cat?
He's in my, he's on the rug in my background.
No cat? All right, cool. Hopefully that gets gift for later.
I do think it looks like Cygnet Warhorse 1 may have been used to tow Phobos at one point.
Now, Trevor, I got a question. I got another question. Are you you're a tugboat kind of guy? You like tugboats? Tugboats are pretty cool, right?
where are you
Is that
going
why you
with
track this?
I'm
We
so
just-
scared.
No, tugboats are cool. Those boats have like 5,000 horsepower. That's pretty cool. I'm actually asking. I think tugboats are awesome, and this information is pertinent to me. I'm very interested in this. I'm not trying to make a joke. I actually enjoy this stuff a lot.
I enjoy seeing the decrease in turnaround times of drone ships, only possible from these tugs going many, many knots.
Sawyer, if you make a knot pun, I swear.
Do not do it, Sawyer.
Do not do it.
You're making them for me.
Oh, God. He's turned us against. Oh, jeez.
So, we should probably talk about Polaris and Hubble.
We could.
Somebody start talking, because I need to not have my camera on screen for a second.
So you can sneeze transition.
Please hurry.
Sawyer, you should talk.
I should? I guess.
I'll do it. I like talking.
do it.
I'm good at this. All right,
Well,
man.
yes, you
Tee
are
it up.
very good at talking, but...
Yeah. It's a talent.
Yeah, so recently, there has been the discussion of what to do with Hubble. We heard Jarrett Isaac say that he would want to take a Polaris mission and go save it. In fact, we talked a little bit about that last week even, especially with the release of the video about the 15th anniversary of STS-125, the mission that saved Hubble on its final repair mission there. Which, by the way, if you haven't watched it, you should totally check it out on the channel because it is awesome and it features me, and me. So I selfishly kind of love it, but
That's the best kind, dude.
It's a good video. It's a good video.
no, we've got some exclusive stuff in there, some video that hasn't seen the light of day in forever, some great things from L2, including today being the anniversary that Mike Massimino had to rip a handle off of Hubble to be able to replace an instrument. That video is in there.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being told, like, hey, it's going to require, what was it, like 60 pounds force of a yank on the handle? And this is one of humanity's greatest achievements, one of a kind space observatory. And they're like, yeah, just yank the handle off.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's terrifying.
So just for people that, it's like, okay, you yank the handle off. You want to understand how complicated that is? Try playing tug of war on oil slick. That's how difficult that is.
True.
It's not, you watch the footage. Yep. It's not just like, oh, you pulled it off. What a big deal. No, that's not easy to do in space. Very easy. Jake! Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so it turns out that there have potentially been some internal emails inside NASA that have now raised concerns about a private mission going to save Hubble. Now, keep in mind, Hubble does have a docking adapter that was added on STS-125 as a way to allow an uncrewed spacecraft to go up to it and allow it to complete a controlled re-entry burn and basically disposal burn. Now it's the question of, should they allow anyone in a private company to touch NASA's precious baby, basically? And the reason why is the real question. It goes down to a couple of different things. Is it a concern for the spacecraft? Is it the people that built it really love it and don't want anyone else touching it? Is it a political thing? What do you guys think?
I mean, I see multiple camps when I see discussion of this. One camp is like, don't let Polaris near Hubble. They could break it, or worse, hurt themselves while attempting to service it and break it, and also result in the loss of life, which would be terrible. On the other hand, I see people like Jared saying, Hubble is not in great shape, especially with the current level of solar activity. And yes, there are people saying, you know what, we don't have to rush to reboost it. We've got time. But that's the kind of thinking that leads to, I don't know, oh my God, Space Lab being like, oh yeah, we have Skylab having time, like, oh, we've got time to reboot Skylab. Shuttle will be on time. It'll be fine. And then we lose Skylab because shuttle was not on time. So I think it only makes sense to leverage commercial and leverage Polaris. I mean, if somebody is telling you, hey, we'll completely foot the bill, just make it happen. I mean, whatever safety margins you need, whatever parameters you need to put on the mission to ensure that it goes well and as safe as possible, sure. But don't just outright say no. I mean, and I get it. Dragon doesn't have a robotic arm. So it's, you increase the complexity of working on Hubble significantly just because you don't have a robotic arm. And it's like what EJ was just saying. You can't work on something. It's like working on an oil slick, or trying to tug on something while standing on an oil slick. Like space, it's Newtonian physics, right? Like every action has a reaction, and if you don't have a way to secure your body on a fixture, like, I get it. There are complexities to a Dragon mission to Hubble. That said, I don't think any of these are insurmountable.
Yeah,
go ahead, EJ.
I agree with you, dude. Now, just clue me in, fellas. Did NASA just outright say, nah, don't get near it? Or were they like, okay, we got to figure something out?
They didn't say don't get near it. There was the study, right? There was a study where they looked at the feasibility of doing this. And if I remember correctly, NASA made a recommendation. I don't know that we know what that recommendation was, but program managers in the Hubble program are reluctant, I think, is a fair encapsulation of the situation. I could be mis-summarizing it, but that's my read. It seems like there's some elements within NASA that are all for it, and it seems like there are some elements within the Hubble program that are more protective of the spacecraft, which I understand. But if we're going to lose it one way or the other, why not at least try to save it?
I think that I mean, okay. So once again, I'm devil's advocate, guys. Don't hate me. I think having commercial astronauts fix a piece of NASA infrastructure is a bad look for NASA. I think a good solution here would be to have 2 mission specialists that are NASA astronauts and have, Kid Poteet and Rook Isaacman get up there and, they could be pilot and commander, but 2 NASA mission specialists on board. Now we're talking. I think that would be a good compromise. Yeah. I don't think it would be the best thing doing it with all commercial astronauts. That's a bad look because, once again, it's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. All commercial astronauts go and fix this thing. Some bonehead is going to be like, well, why don't we just have all commercial astronauts? Why do NASA astronauts exist, right? Someone's going to make that argument. Screw that. That's a bad idea. Have it be a hybrid mission. Put 2 NASA mission specialists on there. Get up there and fix the dang thing. And boost it, too, because that's the problem. It works. We got to boost it. Well,
so that's the other thing is there's a limited amount of things that a Polaris mission to Hubble could do, given, again, the lack of the robotic arm. But basically, they could juggle a couple wires, plug some things in, and hopefully, through doing so, increase Hubble's pointing accuracy, and then the reboost. Reboost is, I think, to me at least, the biggest component of such a mission. I mean, if all they do is a reboost, that's still huge. Ideally, you leave it healthier than you arrive, but at the very least, a higher orbit is a necessity to keep it functioning over a longer period of time. Trevor, thoughts?
So I actually have a question. Has Jared said anything publicly on Twitter or in an interview or whatnot if he would be interested in doing a mission with having the second Polaris mission be with NASA astronauts? Because on the other hand, I totally agree that it wouldn't be the best look for NASA if they had an entirely commercial crew repairing Hubble. But also, I kind of get the sense that Polaris, Jared Isaacman, is wanting to be entirely separate from NASA and have it be its own thing with SpaceX pushing the boundary of what's possible commercially. So I'm actually really curious, has he said anything about if they would be willing to work with NASA for this mission?
Not that I can recall. But I
can ask.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Trevor. And you know what? Yeah, it wouldn't be the best look for NASA for an all-commercial mission to go service Hubble. But guess what? Sometimes you don't look good. That's just the nature of spaceflight. And if NASA is not doing great, sometimes you just don't look great. It's just how it goes. I'm sorry.
Is, which looks worse? Having Hubble just fall back to Earth, or having another company go up and try and fix it?
I think an uncontrolled entry on Hubble is unacceptable.
Agreed.
Unacceptable. Whatever happens... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, imagine, though, we send a vehicle up there whose sole purpose is literally to just deorbit Hubble.
What a waste.
Right. I mean, that's what the original plan was of why they installed the soft docking adapter there, was so that a vehicle could come up without a crew and send it into a deorbit burn. It was never discussion, really, of using it to, hey, let's repair it again in the future. It was just something that was an international enough docking adapter that any vehicle that needed to could attach to it.
Right.
So
yeah, they put a grapple fixture on it, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. And the fact that, keep in mind, this is also NASA property. It's not like you can be a space pirate and go say, oh, we're going to dock to it anyway. So if you want to do anything to it, you need NASA's permission. But
right.
It kills me that they would, if you have the opportunity to extend its life, why not?
Yeah, I mean, even life extension aside, again, I think an uncontrolled entry of Hubble is unacceptable. We are better than that. We should not be risking space debris falling on populated areas with an uncontrolled reentry with something as large as Hubble, something with a huge honking mirror that would probably survive reentry heating and make it all the way to the ground. It's just, now that is a bad look. And
absolutely.
Yes, they installed the grapple fixture on there. Yes, there could in the future be some sort of tentative plan to deorbit it responsibly, but right now there isn't. Right now it's just, we'll worry about that later. And just to go back a second, talking about how an all-commercial mission to Hubble would look bad for NASA, You know what it would look great for? American ingenuity, the American commercial space sector. Like, that's what's firing on all cylinders right now. Not
Tea in the
NASA.
harbor. What? Sorry.
What? I missed what you said.
Tea in the harbor. I'm agreeing with you.
Yes, tea in the harbor.
Tea in
Absolutely.
the harbor. Throw it in.
So I'm curious if, since it's sounding like Polaris 2 isn't going to be Hubble repair, what do you guys think it's going to be? Because Jared said, I think it was on NSF Live, that right, they're going to have they want the level of risk on this mission to be what they're planning for the Hubble repair or higher. And right, they are requiring that it's going to have an EVA. And it sounds like they want that EVA to, actually do something unlike just the tests that they're doing on Polaris Dawn. So can you guys think of anything else that kind of fits within what Jared has described?
That's a really good question.
Ooh.
I would think something involving a rendezvous would be a good candidate. What that might be, what you might rendezvous with, no idea. I mean, two dragons rendezvousing would be pretty sick, if you ask me. I'm thinking along the lines of like Gemini. Sorry, Sawyer. Don't be mad at me. Gemini.
Corrected. It's fine.
But yeah, Polaris in a lot of ways is commercial Gemini for the modern times. So I think to answer your question, Trevor, look at some Gemini missions, and there's your answer. Whether that's docking with a target spacecraft of some kind and doing operations around it, maybe that's a way that they can demonstrate to NASA and whatnot. Like, hey, look, we have rendezvous ops down. After Polaris 1, we have EVA ops down. Like, we can do this. Maybe that's another, piece of the puzzle there. But yeah, I think the answer to that is somewhere in Gemini, and thinking about it as commercial Gemini. I see people in our back channel saying Boost Chandra, Starship docking, that would be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of different things. Say again?
If they did something Agena-esque.
Right. Just don't enter a crazy spin because of a stuck thruster. That would be bad.
Yeah, we don't need a repeat of Gemini 8. By the way, Trevor, you do know what the Gemini program was, right?
Yes.
All right,
I like how earlier when Trevor was rattling off different things that NASA has learned from, he said Gemini, Apollo, and I think he said Shuttle.
I didn't say
but
Mercury.
He didn't say,
I know.
He didn't say Mercury. I was like, Trevor doesn't know what Mercury is.
No,
it's a planet and a series of missions, Trevor.
Oh my god.
Who was on Gemini 1?
Oh, I don't know astronauts at all. I can't even tell you who was on the latest SpaceX crewed launch. Or any of them. I know Bob and Doug, and that's it. I've never found the astronaut, like, who the astronauts are. It doesn't stick in my brain.
Thank you, Kevin.
What the tugboats do?
What?
The tugboats do?
I know the tugboats better.
You could have guessed nobody, and you would have actually been more correct.
Yeah, that was a trick question. No one
was
wants
it
to
Monkey or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just not the part of spaceflight that I've ever been super interested in.
That's fair.
Oh, man,
all of these people behind me are now looking down at you. Just look at their faces. Look at them.
From space.
Look at them.
They're disappointed in you, Trevor.
There.
They should be.
Oh, no, I feel bad.
Anyway, so Trevor, you asked where the next Polaris mission goes. I mean, I think it'd be good to look towards the Gemini E program. But if I had to guess, like, okay, I'm gonna go crazy here. We're going crazy here for a second. Polar orbit.
That'd be so cool.
I said
launch from Slick 6. Orbit. Launch from Slick 6. Fulfill the prophecy.
Or they could use the polar launch corridor in Florida.
Out of the Cape, which is more likely.
Absolutely not. No.
Hey, let's just sit here and Slick 6 has a fixed service structure. It was designed for the shuttle, and then it worked with Delta 4. It has a fixed service structure. You can install a crew access arm on that.
But and it's very clear that Slick 40 and at 39A.
Yeah, Sawyer,
get out of here.
You're absolutely right. And any other day, I agree with you 100%. But also, people need to launch from Slick 6 on a polar once around. All right.
Yes.
I'm saying this
Needs
as a
to
shuttle
happen.
fan.
You just want to recreate shuttle. That never happened.
Has a human ever been in polar orbit?
No, not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I certainly can't think of any, but obviously I'm not the person to ask.
They wanted
Here's
to
the
do
thing.
it with the
Yeah, I know
shuttle.
they wanted to for shuttle.
yeah.
The photos of shuttle and Vandy are so beautiful.
Yes.
Oh yeah, ace tier pictures, man. They
I don't
should
even
have
need
done
to
that.
say
That
it.
would've
You
been
all are
amazing.
saying it for me. Here's the thing. If they did use the Southern Polar Corridor, I just feel dirty even just saying that. If they did use that, then they're going to have a hit to their performance. And if we're seeing anything with Polaris Dawn, they're wringing all of the performance they can out of Falcon and Dragon and doing an extremely high orbit. They're not just going to Leo. So, Slick 6, you wouldn't have that performance hit. You could do a more extreme orbit or apogee or what have you. So, yeah, Slick 6 better than Southern Polar Corridor, even for launching humans. I think we're all on record as agreeing with that. Let's move on.
We are not. I am going to make a note
We are not.
that I am in protest of your comment and let you continue.
All right. Anonymous, thanks for buying the Flight 4 patch. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing. Thank you for the support. They say, what kind of jail is Trevor in now? All of them. I mean, it's all of them. Matthias, thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. Jeff Rowe gifting a Red Team membership. Bob Smith, thanks for the support. They say Falcon 9 booster, Signet, blah, blah, blah. Gene Krantz, Trevor. Wilbo Baggins, they say, why can't I gift memberships? Maybe new name, maybe? Oh, that's weird. I'm not sure. But thanks for the super chat. Telstar86, thank you for the super chat. They say the puns are coming in at a high pace of knots.
They're not fun.
Yeah. Musical Wolves, thank you for the support. They say, does solar activity affect Polaris launch? I would imagine yes, but I don't actually know.
I think Polaris launches far enough out that this solar activity isn't going to be ignored, but
Isn't this one
they'll
going through
definitely...
all the anomalies anyway?
What's that?
Isn't the Polaris mission going to be going through all of the different radiation anomalies? Like the one
it does go through the South Atlantic anomaly.
Yeah, but I still don't think you want to launch into a massive solar flare.
Yeah,
probably not.
I'm with Trevor on this one. It's probably not a good idea.
Sounds like a fun time to
Bideford, thank you for the support. They say, is NSF covering this launch? There's no link for it on NSF. Yes, we're covering the launch.
You're already at the link.
Sweet.
John,
You're already
thank
here.
you for grabbing the Flight 4 patch. They say, hey guys, keep up the great work. Long live Hoppy.
You got him to
Brad, he did get me to say it. Brad says, I would like Flight 3 patches. Buddy, we sold out of the Flight 3 patches. I'm sorry. And we've said it repeatedly. We only buy so many, and once they're gone, they're gone. So good job getting the Flight 4 patch, because once it's gone, it's gone. Telstar86, thank you for the support. They say, send Jake to fix it. Won't be a total catastrophe.
Oh.
I love that one. That's good. Pun token awarded.
That's pretty good. Holy cow. Wilbo Baggins with 100-pound super chat? That's insane.
My guy.
Thank you, Wilbo. That's insane. They say, Chris set up NSF. I got a few hundred people to, quote, wave at Tim, Brit on the ISS, as it passed over Burton in Somerset, UK. I published viewing times and got lots of people interested. Winter was the best, ergo before kids went to bed. Just passion space nerds. Thank you so much, Wilbo, for all of your support now and previously.
One of us.
And forever. Yeah, one of us.
One of us.
Steven, thank you for getting the Flight 4 patch. They said they should build 4 launch towers so we can once again ask, what are the 4 towers for?
I like this idea.
That's pretty good.
Please do it. Please
Rodney
do it.
getting the Flight 4 patch, saying keep up the great work. RC Horseman gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you, RC Horseman. And Pete Hafner becoming a Pad Rat member. Whew. Whole bunch of support on this stream. Thank you so much to all of our members, and thank you especially to our launch directors and flight engineers, without whom we could not do what we do here at NSF. So thank you so much. It's the 2 higher levels of support.
Look at all
we
these
appreciate
people,
you guys
man.
so
This
much.
is great. It's a
lot of
party
nerds
in here.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Nothing but a house party. Sorry.
All right, well, with that, I think we will wrap up the flame trench and do a bit of host juggling. I'm going to leave because I'm sick and I don't feel good, so bye. But the stream isn't ending. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of the one, the only, the handsome, the smart, the funny, the pun-tacular Sawyer.
Who, me?
You.
Thank you, I guess. Yeah, so get ready, everybody. We've got Falcon 9, Starlink 6-59 on its way, and
Let's go.
remember, this isn't your ordinary Starlink. There is a live look right now outside at Pad 40, where the rocket is ready to fly for a record 21st time. For those who are unaware, after that very kind intro, I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and Trevor Sesnick is sticking around to help with this one. Trevor, how's it going?
Yeah, just, we were off the rails on the last one. This one will be a bit more serious since we have a launch to discuss, so excited for it.
I'm excited too. And then, of course, with Jack out of the way, even though he is considered the field, we have our team out in the field, and joining us on comms from the field is Max Evans. Max, how's it going?
Hey, howdy, hey, everybody, and good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you may be watching from. And welcome to what, honestly, I have to say is a glorious evening here at the Kennedy Space Center.
It looks absolutely beautiful out there. It does, as we hit the T-minus 1 hour mark until this launch. And we also have Dee out there helping with some more views. And the same person who was just making us all look funny on camera is going to be bringing you the beautiful views of tonight's launch. That is Mr. Kevin Michael Reed. So, Trevor, do you mind giving us a quick overview of the 6-59 mission?
Yeah, of course. So I think you guys should be able to hear me. Let me just make sure chat can. Since we're switching systems, I just want to make sure I'm unmuted on the right stuff. Can I get confirmation of... Okay, yes, I'm good. Thank you.
I see 5 of 5s.
Yeah, so this will be, as you said, the Starlink Group 6-59 mission, which, as usual on these missions now, SpaceX will be launching 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites into a low Earth orbit. The satellites will then spend the coming months raising their orbit up to that roughly 550 kilometer circular shell that is Group 6. Then, following launch, the booster, which is B1062, which we'll get to here in a second, will be landing on a shortfall of gravitas, which was tugged downrange by Signet Warhorse I, and supported by Doug, which will also attempt to recover both fairing hats. But, as you may have heard, it is B1062 on tonight's mission. So this is the 21st flight of a booster, so it's B1062-21. It has previously flown, I'll just go over the interesting missions, GPS SV04, Inspiration 4, so Jared flew on this, Axiom Mission 1, Nilesat 301, sorry, skipping all the Starlink missions since who cares about them, OneWeb 17, Arabsat 7B, so many Starlink missions, holy cow, this booster has flown a lot. And yeah, that's all of the important ones for today's flight.
There you go. And Max, obviously a big focus on this one now, flying, as you mentioned there, Trevor, for the 21st time. Max, how's the weather looking out there, and how are the port operations looking in terms of supporting this?
Yeah, it is a bit breezy tonight, but that's nothing really to fret at because we are still well within the launch criteria for what Falcon 9 can handle. But otherwise, weather is absolutely superb, I have to say. Crystal clear skies over us. All the cloud systems that were over us earlier are heading out to, or at least away from us now, I should say. And the sun is going down marvelously. And I think if the weather continues to participate in the manner that it is now, and we launch at the opening of the window, we are probably going to get some pretty intense jellyfish action. And for those who don't know what a jellyfish is, essentially what that means is the exhaust particulates that are emitted from Falcon 9's exhaust, whether it be on the first stage or the MVAC, depending on what phase of flight it's in. Because obviously it's flying up, it is flying back into the sunlight, and the sunlight is the sunlight illuminates all of the exhaust particulates that are emitted from the rocket, and it creates this marvelous, like, white, sometimes colorful cloud against a very dark sky. So an amazing visual spectacle. But in terms of port operations, to answer your question today, a shortfall of gravitas is stationed 599 kilometers downrange this evening because Just Read the Instructions is still laid up in dry dock for some minor maintenance to, I guess, stay current. And as Trevor mentioned, Doug will be supporting fairing recovery operations this evening. So while Starlinks do grow mundane, this one, I have to say, is going to be hopefully be quite spectacular.
Exactly, both in terms of views in addition to the historic nature of this one. So it's rare you get this excited for a Falcon 9 Starlink launch, and I'm with you on this one. There's a lot more hype to this than usual. A reminder, if you have any questions about Starlink or this mission, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can, including this one from Aviation Nerd. And they are asking, Trevor, I'll pose this one to you. When will they do RTLS missions on Starlink, or is that even still in the picture?
Yeah, so, right, I think toward the end of 2023, we saw SpaceX filing for these FCC permits to allow for RTLS Starlink missions. And some Starlink missions that have launched had an option that was not used for RTLS. However, it seems like that's probably no longer going to happen. And the main reason for that is SpaceX has really gotten the drone ship turnaround time substantially shorter than it was, almost twice as quickly. Toward the end of last year, on the East Coast, drone ships were taking, roughly 7 to 8 days, if not more, to be turned around, allowing them with 2 drone ships to have a launch every 4 days out of the Cape. But now they're turning drone ships around. The last Starlink mission, what was that? Starlink Group 6-58. That was a drone ship mission that had a 4 days, 6-hour turnaround. So they're now getting, with 1 drone ship, a launch every 4 days. So given that they have this huge increase of cadence purely from turning these drone ships around quicker, I find it unlikely that we're going to see them do RTLS Starlink missions. I suspect that before we see that, we would see SpaceX go for build another drone ship, and that's something that Kiko has kind of hinted at on X, that there may be more drone ships in the future, although unfortunately that has not been confirmed.
And I think it's also worth noting that for a while they were also doing some minor repairs on some of the drone ships. So you had one that was completely out in January, and now you've got one that had to spend a couple days at dry dock in the Bahamas before then immediately going right back out for the 6-57 mission. So they are working that fleet hard, even having to, go in, make some fixes and improvements, and still have that fast of a turnaround time, which to me is absolutely crazy in a good way.
Yeah, and that's why, right, the question that, we talk about it basically every time we're on stream of how is SpaceX's 148 launch goal looking? And, right, the first assumption that you may make is say, okay, look at the first launches, or the first quarter of this year, right, we're about a third of the way through the year, so I guess look at the first third of this year. There have been 50 Falcon launches, so therefore, there's going to be whatever 50 over like 0.36 is. 139 Falcon launches, in which case, like, by that math, it seems like they're going to be pretty close to their goal. However, like you were saying, this has been with, during this, they had a 20-day delay in Vandenberg, common Vandenberg L, sorry, Jack. I had to just for you, Sawyer.
Thank you.
And then this was also with, as you were saying, some drone ships being out of service and just generally some unlucky weather. So if they manage to stay away from some of those issues now that they've done a lot of preventative maintenance, honestly, I think 148 launches is entirely possible.
I could see it happening next year. I think they'll break 100 this year personally, but I still think it might get a little short just because of some of the delays that they had early on and the potential for the fact that in this case you're launching from Florida and we're approaching hurricane season. So that could easily put a halt to your record-breaking progress. So that would be my main concern with hitting 148. Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I would completely agree. The biggest factor right now is can SpaceX keep all of their drone ships happy and healthy, and of course the rest of their fleet as well. I think the biggest question mark of this entire goal of 148 is the weather, because of course, as we've learned from both Hurricane Nicole and Hurricane Ian back in 2022, that can really derail some campaigns depending on how, of course, severe the hurricane is and how bad the damage is afterwards. So hopefully we have a clear year, but the Atlantic is already unusually warm and the season technically hasn't even started yet. So that could mean anything. We could get a lot of hurricanes this year. We might have only one or two or even none. You never know. But I think the biggest question mark in all that is weather, and of course that is the worst thing. I mean, you just cannot predict weather here in Florida, no matter how hard you try.
That is true. Mother Nature always wins.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind though is that right on all of these Starlink missions now, we've seen that they have this several hour long window. So for example, tonight's Starlink window extends until I believe about 2300 local time. 2330 local. And through this, they have a lot of different T0s that they're able to target. So this kind of helps them in bad weather find these small gaps where they're able to go, which makes it seem like the weather is slightly better than it may actually be. But I agree, it could just be a few hurricanes for them to really fall behind on this launch cadence that we've been seeing.
Right, it's tricky because if a hurricane hits, it doesn't matter how long your launch window is that day. If there's a hurricane, you're not flying. But at the same time, you've probably also heard the expression here in Florida of if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Because there's usually a chance that there will be a random storm, it'll completely clear out, and then you launch later in the window. So I see the issue, and I see how it could work on both sides, but that uncertainty is what keeps me from thinking they'll hit 148. But I think it's safe to say if they continue this current pace, that 100 is absolutely plausible.
Oh, I think there is basically no world where they don't hit 100 this year.
There are some potential things, but missions have to go pretty smoothly. If there is some kind of issue that crops up that they notice in the fleet, that is something that they would have to address. At this point now, ignore all the zeros there. The timeline is that in the next 7 minutes or so, we should hopefully have SpaceX getting ready to begin their go, no go poll for fueling. That officially, hopefully getting the go for fueling then at T-minus 38 minutes. And if that's the case, then they will begin fueling at T-minus 35 minutes. So hopefully just over 10 minutes from now, we will see this rocket get frosty ahead of its 21st flight.
Yeah, and just now, we got confirmation from SpaceX that they're under 1 hour, and weather is 95% favorable for liftoff.
That is really good, considering it is extremely rare to see them ever say 100% favorable weather. And a lot of that is the 45th Weather Squadron as part of Space Force, and Space Launch Delta 45 that monitors all of the weather and the range in general for these launches. I think only once I've ever seen it where it was greater than 95% chance and the risk factors was listed as none Otherwise, there's always, a little cumulus cloud just in case, because I have seen launches scrub at 90%, and I have seen launches launch at 20%. So you never know, but a beautiful view there as the sun's starting to set on the left side there from our fleet cam atop Rusty's, and of course, still the gorgeous view of the rocket on the right side of the screen, giving an indication a little bit with that shake, rattle, and roll of the light breeze. I do want to thank some people for their support. Rob Burns, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. And Wilbo Baggins from earlier saying, I can and very happy to. We genuinely appreciate that. Thank you very much. And then Anonymous getting an item from the store saying, love you, Pete, so much, but let's be honest, Jack is the best, but I love all of y'all. Thanks, I think.
The best or the worst?
I think the person on that stream, on the current stream that takes the title is you, Max.
I would beg to differ. Jack's pretty rad.
He's not on the stream right now, though, so Max W.
I'll take it.
Max E with the Max W.
I was going to say it's not Max W, it's Max E. Sawyer, you're like 2 seconds ahead of me today.
We'll call it a stream delay. How about that? Even though we're not on any stream delay, you and I. Here's another good point from Deborah Jean, who said hurricanes don't have to hit the U.S. to affect flight ops. They can affect anywhere downstream, interfering with recovery ops as well. That is true, especially as we just talked about with the possibility of Starlink RTLS missions. So just something to keep in mind there, because again, the Bahamas get hit quite frequently, and you can see there the southeasterly trajectory that it's dealing with, and the fact that in the future there is that discussion of having it land essentially in the middle of the Bahamas. So you've got a couple different things to keep in mind there. Here's a question for River Dave. And Max, I'll throw this one to you, having been there to see a whole bunch of other vehicles launch. They ask, is Falcon 9 considered the most reliable rocket in history yet, or what would that take? And I think that depends on also what numbers you look at, or if you're basing that on opinions. So what are your thoughts on that question, Max?
It really depends on what data you look at. I don't have any specific numbers in front of me, so it's difficult for me to say exactly. But I think technically the most reliable rocket flown is still technically the Soyuz, despite it having many variants. But I think Falcon 9 is very close, if not better by this point, especially with the cadence that it's flying now and has been flying over the last couple of years. But I think the closest rival that Falcon 9 has, at least for the number of flights it's had, is Soyuz. But that being said, Atlas V so far does have a 100% success record, even though it has only flown about 99 times, I think. So it really just depends on how you want to look at it. But at least in terms of the modern day launch vehicles, especially in the last 10 years or so, Falcon 9, I don't want to call it bulletproof, because that is just leading, that is opening a case to jinx things. But Falcon 9 is just dead nuts reliable right now, especially. And as we see, tonight's mission is a prime example, with this booster being the first to hopefully fly 21 times, which seemed unfathomable even 3 years ago.
Yeah, two things. One, can I point out that he just said only 99 flights, so nonchalant? Like, that's still a lot of flights. I mean, obviously SpaceX is aiming for that in a year, but prior to that, that's still a pretty good launch cadence. And also, be careful using bulletproof, or the sniper will hear you. For a certain other launch company. It's a joke for those who don't know. But
sorry,
yeah,
Sawyer. I was talking to D. I was completely zoned out for all that. So I'm sorry if I missed your punchline.
You did. It was first off the fact that 99. We're saying that so nonchalant. I mean, yes, SpaceX puts that number to shame when they're talking about 100 a year, but only 99 flights for Atlas with a 100% success record. And then also saying that don't call it bulletproof, especially because then a sniper from a certain other company will hear you.
Cough, cough.
It's an old reference back in the day, for those who don't know, to the Amos 6 anomaly on the pad, we'll say. There were questions of if a rival company may have had a sniper on a roof and have actually shot the Falcon 9, which, spoiler, they didn't. Let's see here. Hopefully this is a question that, Trevor, you and your spreadsheets will be able to help out with. You ready for spreadsheet question?
I love spreadsheet questions.
No Negative is asking, what is the highest number booster? Not in terms of number of flights, but just the booster number itself.
Oh, that's
And do we know
flown,
how
it's
many SpaceX has
B1084.
built?
Yeah, so the highest that's flown is B1084. We've seen past this in McGregor. I think we may have seen B1090 at this point. If not, we're at high 80s. Oh, Alex is saying highest build is B1086. So yeah, they've really slowed down the production rate of boosters. 1087, Alex is already correcting himself. And, sorry, what was the second part of the question? I don't see it on
The second part of the question is basically how many do they have in the fleet?
Right. All time, I think they were asking. So
How many have SpaceX built? Yes.
yeah, so this is where right, it gets a little confusing. So there's B1001 through B1084, or 86 as Alex mentioned. 87. So that's 100 or 1087 minus 1001. So that's 86 boosters. However, there was B1001 was a structural test article, so that doesn't count. B1002 was F9R Dev 1, so that doesn't really count. B1009 was F9R Dev 2, and then B1027 was also a structural test article. So subtract 4 from the number, but then the other caveat that we have to take into account is the V1.0 Falcon 9s had a different naming scheme, where instead of being 10 B10 like 1001, it was B0001. It's so weird to say. So there were 5 of those built and launched, and then B0002 was Grasshopper, and B0001 was a structural test article. So 86 minus 5 plus, so I think 86 boosters have flown, if my quick math is correct.
There we go. And as mentioned, B1087 was just recently on the test stand out at McGregor, which you can watch testing at McGregor Live 24/7, ahead of its planned next mission, which is the GOES-U flight aboard Falcon Heavy, where it will act as an expendable center core. So that launch is currently scheduled for next month, in fact. So we'll be seeing 1087 on the pad very, very soon. Something we'll also hopefully see very soon is some frost on the rocket, as we are coming up on the go, no-go poll for fueling. That will be underway right now, and then they should give the go or no-go for fueling at the T-minus 38-minute mark. Fortunately, that is not something that they broadcast publicly, so at T-minus 35 minutes is when the fueling will begin. They will either post an update on that, or more likely, our fantastic team at the Cape with their amazing zoom lenses will be able to capture the frost actually forming on the vehicle, indicating the start of loading RP1, Rocket Propellant 1, a refined form of kerosene, and liquid oxygen, or LOX, into the first stage, as well as starting the load of RP1 on the second stage. They only load RP1 on that first stage, followed shortly thereafter by the LOX load. That begins at T-minus 16 minutes, and you'll know that second stage RP1 load is complete once we hit the T-minus 20-minute vent, aka the best vent, or as it's just listed here, the LOX chill down, as they purge the lines and chill the lines down to get ready for the super-cooled liquid oxygen to flow. So that is where we currently are. In the countdown, you can see it there on the left side of your screen. So we are getting that much closer, hopefully, to the 21st flight of this booster taking off. We will again also keep an eye for that frost very soon. Here's a simple question. I know we kind of brought this up a little bit earlier, but assuming now that the fueling begins on time, Duthamer is asking, jellyfish question mark? So Max, is there a chance, and who, I'll add, has a chance to see that potential jellyfish?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before in the intro, welcome if you are just joining us. The chances of a jellyfish tonight, assuming it launches on time at the opening of the window, is high. I would say it's very high. The sun sets at around 8:03, 8:04 p.m. local time, I believe, and the launch is at 8:32. So, with it being only around a half hour after sunset, or just a tad under, there is a great chance that Falcon 9 will be flying back into the sunlight and have its exhaust particulates lit up by the sun's rays against a very dark sky. It is visually spectacular, and we are due for one around here on the Space Coast because Vandy has had a lot of them lately, and we are quite jealous over here. In terms of who will be able to see it, anyone who's on the east coast of Florida, north or south, within, I want to say, maybe 100 miles or so, you should be able to see something. Whether it'll be spectacular or not will, I guess, depend on how close you are. And if it will be even more spectacular if you are south of Cape Canaveral, because it is flying southeast, and you will have a great sight-on view of it. But also, I think it might look best from the Bahamas, because at that point it'll already be dark and you'll have a front row seat to how bright the exhaust will be against a dark sky because of the sun. So yeah, if all goes well and it flies at the opening of the window, we could be in for a pretty spectacular show. But I could also be wrong, and that could all just be a bunch of gibberish. So I guess we will have to find out. Talking while muted, Sawyer?
Yeah, that helps. I also wanted to let this animation play out, too, of brilliantly designed by Ryan Caton. That gives you a good idea, too, of if you're anywhere in that red circle, pending clear skies, you have a very good chance of seeing it. And yes, hopefully we can show up Vandy with a beautiful jellyfish/nebula plume tonight. And as you can see, our team there already hard at work at the Cape. There's Max. And then the beautiful sunset behind the VAB, and D. I can always tell D's gear by the awesome pink tape. So shout out to D for always being fashionable too with the gear, I gotta say. Tom Dalton, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Methane Man, thank you as well for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. A reminder, if you did get one of those gifted memberships, please make sure to give them a big ol' thank you. And hopefully you get to enjoy the perks. Here's a question from Aviation Nerd, and Trevor, I'll throw this one to you as we keep an eye on the booster for that frost. They want to know, why do they make new boosters for the center core of Falcon Heavy?
Because they have never successfully recovered a Falcon Heavy center core. For the first few missions, it was kind of thought of as the curse, so Falcon Heavy demo. The booster failed to land due to running out of T-Tab, if I remember correctly. On Flight 2, Arabsat 6A, they did successfully land the center core on the drone ship. However, they then lost the booster at sea because the Octograbber was not compatible with Falcon Heavy's center cores at that time. And then on Flight 3, when they attempted to recover the center core on STP-2, they lost control of the booster. They kind of knew going in that it was going to be a ton of heat flux, so they didn't think that they were going to be able to land it, or they knew it was at least going to be a big risk, decided to go for it, and a hole was blown in the engine compartment during re-entry, so they didn't have control. And then, since then, they've expended every single center core just because they've needed the performance, so they don't have any to reuse. However, I believe later this year, it's thought that there's going to be a mission where they will attempt to recover the center core.
That would be nice. Yeah, and for those who don't know, by the way, the T-Tab, that is the triethyl aluminum triethyl borate that they use to basically reignite the engines as they come back in. And as indicated by about 6 different people saying the word in the back channel, frost? Frost. We see frost. You could see it there very clearly through the soot on the base there of that first stage. So we now know that propellant load is underway, which is exactly what we were hoping for. Beautiful. Let's take some more questions here. Here's one for you, Max. I mean, obviously we love where you're able to actually see the entry burn the entry burn into the atmosphere. Sometimes we get to see it from the Cape, but 21 Volts Gaming wants to know, could SpaceX add better heat shielding to Falcon to eliminate the entry burns like Starship?
I mean, I guess technically they could, but I think beyond the thermal requirements needed for the entry burn to avoid Falcon 9 re-entering at the speeds that it would without it, I think it's also a structural thing where that if it's going too fast, there will be the loads on the booster, whether it be in any direction, in any form, would be too much, and then they would risk vehicle failure on breakup because of because of the loads that it's experiencing during reentry. So I think, and obviously to fix that, you would need a lot more interior bolstering, I guess you could say, or just strengthening to avoid that. But that also then adds weight. Same with additional thermal insulation, thus taking away from the performance possible from the first stage, which would add a whole bunch of other question marks. So, in theory, yes, you could. But with how Falcon 9 is currently engineered and how well SpaceX has seemed to dial it in for the launch cadence and for what Falcon 9 can do, it just would not make sense.
Yeah.
It comes down to the whole thing is SpaceX has learned a ton from the Falcon program, and at some point, Falcon just is not the right architecture for what they want. So they took all those lessons, figured out that, applied them to a clean sheet design, and that clean sheet design is Starship. So it really doesn't, at this point, make too much sense to put that much more development into Falcon 9.
Exactly. Plus, then we get to say that it fights fire with fire as it goes through its own flames. So that's always fun to say too. We are now past the T-minus 30-minute mark. At this point, we are less than a half hour away now from the scheduled launch of 23 more Starlink V2 mini satellites on the Starlink 6-59 mission aboard a booster that is flying for the 21st time. We're getting a lot of questions about basically the boosters that haven't flown Starlink. So Gwen wants to know how many non-Starlink launches has Falcon 9 flown. You've also got Sixstream wondering how many boosters have played a dual role as a Falcon 9 first stage as well as a side core. So any fun facts that you got in terms of Falcon 9 boosters and flights, Trevor, from your spreadsheets, please share them.
Yeah, sure. So to answer the first question, or the second question first, it was B-1023 flew as a Falcon 9 and then Falcon Heavy Sidecore on the demo flight, as did B-1025. And then 1052 did as well. 1053 did not. That one only flew as a Falcon Heavy Sidecore. And then I believe every other flight of Falcon Heavy has been with. So there have been 3 boosters that have flown both as Falcon 9s and Falcon Heavy sidecores. Then to the other question of. Sorry, can you remind me what the first question was? I got distracted counting.
Yeah, it's fine. It's how many non-Starlink missions has Falcon 9 flown?
So there have been, hold on. I believe there have been 165 Starlink missions now or something along
My
that
math
line.
is that this is 166 tonight.
Yeah, so this will be 166, and Falcon 9 has had a lot of missions. Tonight will be the 337th Falcon 9 mission. So, wow, 337 minus 166 is 171 non-Starlink missions. So we're coming up on half of all Falcon missions ever being Starlink.
Holy smokes. Gosh, it's crazy to think of that number, I gotta say.
Yeah, it really is. What's also like pretty remarkable is, it really seems like SpaceX only flies Starlink missions, but they're still flying roughly a third customer missions. So even as their cadence ramps up exponentially due to Starlink, their customer cadence is also ramping up exponentially. So
That is true. Here's a good question, Max. I'll put this one to you since your office is kind of out there at the Cape constantly. 98 Central is wondering, what were the cranes doing out at 39A yesterday? Any idea?
Well, they've taken down all of the cladding and all of the support that was needed over there. It could have been something to do perhaps with the crew access arm, or maybe they're putting up additional cladding to replace the old ones, because the old cladding did look kind of nasty after a while. Or it could have been something that we have no idea about, to be honest with you. But if I had to guess, it may be something with the crew access arm, or maybe something to do with something on the roof, whether it be lights or just basic maintenance. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna
these
guess
things get...
it was lifting things.
Really, Trevor?
I mean, it's not like these things get absolutely battered and blasted during launch, especially 39A, which also hosts Falcon Heavy, which can make a pad quite toasty. Definitely not that.
Yeah, that pad takes quite a beating after each Falcon Heavy, like substantially more so than Falcon 9. Like it's huge.
Yeah. Well, we are coming up now on the T-minus 25-minute mark, and the skies currently over the Kennedy Space Center are absolutely beautiful there, looking at the vehicle assembly building with the setting sun. Great shot there by D, who's out in the field with Max. And then on the right, a great look over at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where we see Slick 40 and tonight's booster and rocket ready to launch 23 more Starlink V2 mini satellites. Absolutely beautiful views tonight. Oh, sorry.
This launch is gonna be cool.
I could stare at these all day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is, when you've seen enough of these, you kind of start to get an idea of when a launch is going to be gorgeous, and my gorgeous launch tingly sense is going off.
Trevor, I was just going to say, like, I have this tingle about tonight's launch so far. I guess it's in all of us.
I think you need to go check in with a doctor then, because that shouldn't be happening, the tingling, but
Well, it's the same thing. If anyone is an old Top Gear fan, it's the same thing where James May gets the fizz. It's like that.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, I've watched a lot of Top Gear, but that's a reference I don't get.
You don't know about James May getting the fizz? Trevor!
No.
What?
Which is weird, because I have watched so much Top Gear.
Obviously not enough.
I just got a DM from Jack, so okay, I was expecting him to get mad at me for not knowing this. What is the fizz?
To keep it PG is essentially when something is really good, and it makes you just feel really great. It's like a gut feeling. It's great.
Okay, enough said.
Yes, a good gut feeling. So, let's hope that continues and we get that beautiful launch tonight. And if not, I'm telling you both, you got to go to the doctor and get your sensors fixed.
That is sensible.
Oh,
wow.
God.
Wow.
You got me to groan. That's how bad that was.
Oof, Sawyer with the ouch. Ouch, Trevor.
That's rare. Methane Man, thank you very much for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Wilbo Baggins, minus the Tiberius now, thank you very much for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Really appreciate all of that support and giving people a chance that might not get to experience all the cool behind-the-scenes stuff that we have here as being part of the Red Team and part of our membership program on YouTube. And you don't have to pay money or anything to support us. Just liking helps, chatting with us, giving us good questions, that alone makes it worth it for all of us. So thank you very much for that. We are now coming up on just under 22 minutes until the scheduled liftoff time here. So we've got the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent coming up in less than a minute, which is why I'm slightly stalling and not asking a super in-depth question here. Here's one. Do we know the answer to this one? Falcon's Maze asking, where does the leading 10 come from in the booster numbering? So like 10, in this case, 62.
I think it's because of like V1, so the 1 represents... I don't know. That's a good question. I also wonder if part of it's just that SpaceX thought it would sound better to like be 1018 than be 0018.
I mean, my thought would be, yeah, it would be like a Falcon version 1, even though, again, this is Falcon 9 Block 5 currently at this point in terms of the vehicle. Alex saying he can answer that next Starlink stream. You're going to tease us, Alex, in the back channel here and not tell us why.
Yeah, come on, Alex.
I guess just for now, we could just say TLDR because SpaceX wanted to.
I mean, yeah, it's SpaceX. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's a way to add trailing digit or leading digits without it sounding silly. Unlike Astra's launches, which were like LV0006.
One thing that isn't silly, though, is our favorite vent, the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent, currently underway, as you can see there on your screen. That is the indication that RP1 load, Rocket Propellant 1, is complete on the second stage, and in about 4 minutes from now, once that venting stops, we should see liquid oxygen load begin. Trevor, why do we actually have the vent portion, though, in those 4 minutes?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as you were mentioning earlier when we started fuel load, SpaceX loads these stages on the Falcon 9 differently. So the first stage, we have the liquid oxygen and RP1 being loaded from the start. However, later, on the second stage, they start with just the RP1, and that's because the RP1 is closer to room temperature, so they don't need to load it super late. But the liquid oxygen, because it's so cool at approximately minus 200 degrees centigrade, they want to load it as late as possible so that it remains as cool as possible for flight. So in order to do this, what they do is they start loading it as late as possible, and that means that they want to chill down the lines as late as possible. And that's what this is. They are chilling down those lines to make sure that when they start running liquid oxygen through them at full flow, at T-minus 16 minutes when they start, they don't have liquid that instantly vaporizes into a gas.
There you go. And again, we should see this happening for about another 2 minutes or so. So once that stops, that should be a good indication that the LOX load is underway. And you'll be happy to know that I haven't said LOXygen until at this point in the stream. Here's a good question from Charlie, and this is a little bit of speculation, so I'm going to throw this to both of you. Max, I want to start with you. They want to know, how many flights do you think this booster will fly this year as currently the fleet leader?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm going to say it flies up to potentially 4 or 5 more times, given the current cadence.
That's true. That's a good one, because at this point, this is the booster's 4th flight of 2024, and obviously the 21st flight of it overall. Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to guess 5 or 6 more flights. And the reason why I say that is if you look at the turnaround times turnaround times versus number of flights, we've seen that there actually hasn't really been a decrease. The turnaround time average has been roughly constant for no matter how many times the booster has flown. So if you extrapolate that forward, they'll probably keep up this rough cadence, which would put them at 12. However, or not quite 12, I guess more like 9 to 10 flights. However, if you then take into account that there may be a time where they want to do another more thorough round of inspections as they work on this certification for up to 40 flights, then you're looking at, I think 6, 7, 8 flights, somewhere in there. For context, the most flights a booster has ever done in a year is 8, and that was done by B-1075, B-1076, and B-1077 last year. Oh, and B-1069, so yeah.
But yeah, my guess would be I'm going to go with, for sure, 4. They're going to want to get a booster to 25. That, I feel like, is a guarantee. So with this being 21, I would say at least 4 more. My thought is maybe they take this booster to 25 and then get the rest of the fleet caught up. So I'm going to say 4 would be my guess. That was a good question. Here's another really good question, and Trevor, I'll also put this one to you if you don't mind. Norris is asking, why does the rocket roll just after launch?
Ooh, that is a good question. So right, the first answer maybe, if you look at something like shuttle, right, it's pretty obvious to see why you'd want it to roll, since the aerodynamic configuration is so different, and you want that the top side of the shuttle to be pointed down for communication reasons, so it makes sense for non-cylindrical rockets. But then the question of why do cylindrical rockets roll is a good one, and it really comes down to when or what makes the coordinate systems easiest to deal with. And especially back in the day when there were computational limits on vehicles, you wanted the coordinate system that you're working in to be as simplistic as possible. So therefore, you roll the rocket to the launch azimuth angle, I think, and then from there you only need to gimbal your engines in one dimension, and then that will get you into your orbit. And that's just slightly computationally easier than trying to deal with gimbaling across 2 different orthogonal basis vectors. So it really just comes down to thinking about what coordinate system works best and trying to minimize the number of dimensions that you need to care about. That said, I think Falcon 9, yeah, so Alex is also pointing out there's even like a Soyuz launch pad where they move the entire launch pad so that they're able to be rotated prior to launch instead of rotating the rocket. So that's the main reason, is all about coordinate systems. And then I think Falcon 9, there is some other rotations that are done so that they are properly oriented for landing, burn, boost back burn, or whatever the first stage is doing.
Can you tell who's going to school for engineering here?
Not me.
No, that was a really good detailed answer there. Thank you, Trevor. Let's see. Also, I have to bring this up. 21 Volts Gaming saying, as a reminder, how many flights did the least flown shuttle have? Ooh, that's a good one. Because in terms of most flown, you had Space Shuttle Discovery at 39 flights. And then you got my girl, Endeavour, that is at 25. So it's surprisingly catching up to Endeavour.
What was the least flown shuttle?
I'm 99.9% positive it was Endeavour. And if I get that wrong, I will turn in my shuttle card. I'm so sorry.
I don't want to be morbid, but I think technically the correct answer would be Challenger.
On a technicality standpoint, yes. If we go with the ones that are currently in museums, well, I guess then it would be Enterprise, because that would be 0. But in terms of ones that have actually made it to orbit, I believe it's Endeavour. Now, we have our team down at the Cape, obviously giving these fantastic views as we're 12.5 minutes away from launch. But I do want to point out we actually have an additional view tonight from Dr. WD-40 himself. Wade is currently downstream there. That is his live view. He does some fantastic outdoor live streams, including covering launches like this. Also seen him out with metal detector streams, which are really cool along the local beaches. So, a huge shout out to Dr. WD-40, who will hopefully have a fantastic view once it clears the tree line there. So, we'll get some nice downrange views along the water. Wade, thank you so much for rolling out and for letting us use your stream. Let's hop back to our cameras here really quick, and I do want to thank some people for their support. Paladin Phil, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Wilbo Baggins, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Coco Cats, thank you as well for gifting a Red Team membership. And I'd rather be flying an X-Wing here saying, Trevor, first, no Gene Crayons, now no James May Fizz. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. Question is, do you know where that reference is from?
I do not know where that reference is from.
Really?
I feel like I'm just disappointing everyone today.
Oh, come on. Mushu is a great character from Mulan.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Mulan in like 20 years probably, if not more, to be honest. So
Spoiler, that's where the reference comes from.
That was going to say that also flew over my head. So Trevor, you were not alone in that one.
That's okay. I'll let that one fly then, because it already flew over your head. Here's a question. James S. is asking, when do you think SpaceX will have Falcon Heavy crew certified? My personal thought, Max, is never. What do you think?
Well, I don't think SpaceX has any current plans to crew rate Falcon Heavy. I know if you rewind probably 6 or 7 years, they wanted to do that, and that was actually the original plan for Project. God, what's it called? My mind, I'm blanking so hard right now. But Yusaku Maezawa, he wanted to fly around the moon in Dragon, in Gray Moon, which would have been launched by Falcon Heavy. But I think with the advancements that SpaceX has made with Starship and the ambitions, Dear Moon, thank you, Alex, in the back channel, Dear Moon. The advancements and aspirations that SpaceX has enlisted with the Starship program has just kind of taken away the purpose and use for a crew-rated Falcon Heavy. So I don't think we will unfortunately ever see one, which is a real shame because a Falcon Heavy with a Crew Dragon on top would look amazing.
That would be really cool. And keep in mind, there was at one point where Elon Musk gave a presentation about how the rocket that would be flying people to Mars was Falcon 5. Falcon 5 was a thing. Thankfully, it doesn't exist. It can't hurt us, but it was a thing. As we approach the T-minus 9-minute mark, which would be significant if we were talking space shuttle, I'm going to let you, Max, head on off and get all of your cameras and everything set up for this particular launch. And we will talk to you after liftoff.
It is indeed that time, gentlemen. So thank you very much, and I will see y'all on the other side.
See you there. And holy cow. Speaking of cow, honor to your cow, Wilbo Baggins, with 50 gifted Red Team memberships. Jeez Louise. Thank you so much, Wilbo. You've been extremely generous. We really, really appreciate everything that you've done for the support here. Thank you very much. I don't know what else to say besides thank you very much. Thank you as well, Apocalypse Cow, a name we also see here often, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Brian Green, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. And Brian getting an item from the store saying, Space Intelligence loves your work. Keep up the great coverage. Thank you. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate you getting the Starship Flight 4 patch. My goodness. We also have extremely generous support just coming in from Blake Alexander, who says, how many free memberships or super chats would be required for Sawyer or Jack to define a meaningful watch list for Trevor to view in 12 months? We can include Adrian. We Clockwork Orange Trevor to view. After today, obviously in the queue is Apollo 13. And thank you for the $50 super chat there.
Okay, it is embarrassing that I haven't watched Apollo 13. I will fix that within the next week.
All right. Next Flame Trench, we expect to hear back from you on your thoughts.
Okay. I will do that. That is an embarrassing one for me to have not seen.
But Blake Alexander, thank you very much. And one thing that's hard to see that is also happening right now, though, is at the base of our Falcon 9 rocket there, B-1062, as they now begin chilling down the 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the rocket, which, why do they need to chill down the engines?
Yeah, so just like how we were talking earlier about how you don't want cold liquid oxygen going through your warm line, and that's why they have the T-minus 20-minute vent. That's also applies to the engines. You don't want really, really cold liquid oxygen running through those lines, as it could then instantly vaporize, which could actually, in the engine, be even worse. It can cause severe cavitation, which can lead to a hard start, and in extreme cases actually blow up the engine. So what they're doing right now is running a little bit of liquid oxygen through the turbo machinery in each of those 9 Merlin engines to cool them down. And we'll see a similar thing done with Stage 2's MVAC. Actually, the primary cooling starts while they have launched, and you can sometimes see, if we get the right camera angles, a little bit of venting coming from the inner stage, which happens to be that venting from the second stage's Merlin engine.
And there we go. Now 5.5 minutes until the currently scheduled liftoff time here of Starlink 6-59. For those just joining us, as we hit the T-minus 5-minute mark coming up, this is the Starlink 6-59 mission, with the Falcon 9 launching from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On board, 23 more Starlink V2 mini satellites. However, this is a record-setting mission in that this will be the first time a booster flies 21 flights for SpaceX. The goal then, of course, after flying for the 21st time, is to land for the 21st time, and about 600 kilometers downrange is a shortfall of gravitas ready to have the booster hopefully land on top of it about 8 minutes or so after it lifts off. As you can see from our fleet cam here, the sky's beautiful and clear as we hit the 4.5-minute mark, and now is when things really start to get exciting, especially as we get to the transporter erector, which right now is up against the vehicle. At this point, there are little clamp arms that will unclamp from underneath the fairing halves and will retract by 1.8 degrees. Why does it do such a small retraction, Trevor?
Yeah, so unlike the lame TE at Vandenberg, this is the throwback style. Both of their TEs at the Cape are the throwback style. So they recline by this 1.8 degrees, and then once the engines have ignited and the vehicle begins lifting off, it actually falls back another, probably about 50 degrees or so further to get as far away from the vehicle's exhaust as possible. And this is different from the one in Vandenberg, which doesn't do that throwback maneuver. Instead, it retracts by, I can never remember the number, but I think approximately 5 degrees, and then stays there for launch. And that design just requires a little bit more refurbishment, and that's why SpaceX moved to this throwback style design.
There you go. And you can see the vehicle quite frosty right now as we hit about 3 minutes until the scheduled liftoff time of this mission.
Yeah, and this is looking absolutely phenomenal for a jellyfish with this, the sun just setting, the upper sky still being bright. Oh, this is going to be a gorgeous launch if it goes.
Yes, for those who don't know, the jellyfish is when you get sunrise or sunset hitting the vehicle's exhaust plume just right, so that you see the plume expansion and it looks like the top of a jellyfish, which hopefully we will get tonight, and anyone along the eastern coast of Florida should also take a look, as we have confirmation there that all of the liquid oxygen is loaded aboard stage 1. The next thing that we should hear is liquid oxygen load complete on the second stage, which will also be indicated by one final vent/line purge, so to speak, which, what is that extra vent for there?
Yeah, so that is just like everything that we've been saying, more or less, except for somewhat in the reverse. They want to make sure that there's nothing in that line when they go to ignite the engine. The last thing you want is some RP1 or liquid oxygen being on that transport erector, since that would just be a fire risk.
Load complete.
And there is confirmation that Stage 2 LOX load is complete, so we should be seeing that vent happening momentarily as we approach 90 seconds now until liftoff. We should have a couple of vents coming up in quick succession here at T-minus 1 minute. That is when the Falcon 9 will enter startup. That means the onboard computers will have taken control of the countdown and all of the major systems prior to liftoff. That is also when they pressurize the tanks to flight pressure. That should be coming up in approximately 10 seconds, and maybe a slight delay on the SpaceX stream. T-minus 1 minute. In about 15 seconds from now, we should also hopefully get the go for launch from the launch director as well as Falcon 9. We should get confirmation of it being in startup momentarily.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. Onboard computers have control right now. They are monitoring a whole bunch of systems to make sure everything stays within limits and could trigger, if needed,
SpaceX
an
launch
abort.
director,
But as of right
go
now,
launch.
as you just heard there, the launch director, though, saying everything is go for launch, T-minus 30 seconds. A reminder, we will have the audio from the launch. It will take a little bit for it to get to our microphones, which are a couple of miles away. So you will get to hear the launch, and we will be quiet during that portion of the launch. Just want to make you aware of that as we approach about 10 seconds now until liftoff. Keep an eye on the base of the rocket for a green flash, the T-tab, which will indicate ignition of the engines. There we go. We have engine ignition and liftoff of Starlink 6-59, the booster making its historic 21st flight. Go, V2 Minis, go. Fantastic launch sounds tonight as the vehicle passes through max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. You can even hear the VAB squeal. The panel's resonating at the same frequency as those Merlin 1D engines. 90 seconds into flight.
Even I heard the VAB squeal today.
There you go. We got people hearing the squeal. The interesting thing now will be, will we get to see the jellyfish once we get towards the separation here? Which is coming up in about 40 seconds or so from now, where we have the three events in quick succession, which will be MECO, main engine cutoff, followed shortly thereafter by first and second stage separation, and then SES-1, which is the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. Right now, that plume expansion as it gets into the thinner part of the atmosphere, absolutely gorgeous. And again, the colors tonight, right around sunset. It looks like it's going to jellyfish for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there is the start. Ugh.
Meanwhile, our tracking camera is also continuing to follow it, as we should be coming up momentarily on MECO.
Gorgeous.
And there it is. That is main engine cutoff. We'll be able to see it now on a slight delay on the SpaceX stream. There's MECO. There is first and second stage separation. Look at that sunset on the horizon. Also looking at a beautiful ignition there of the Merlin vacuum engine on SES-1. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a jellyfish. So for those who wonder, what is a space jellyfish? you're looking at it.
I think we just heard, was that a holy something from Max?
I heard the word incredible.
Oh, incredible. Wow.
Yes. You can see the first and second stages separately, and now I believe you can see the two fairing halves, which have separated away, revealing the Starlink
Yeah, so
satellites.
you can see those pulses coming from both fairing halves. Wow. I love hearing Max as well, like the incredible, holy.
And there's the first stage again. You can see puffing on the left, those two smaller ones that are just with those big puffs right there. The excitement reel of those fairing halves. Dude. Which do have the cold gas jet thrusters on them as well, because those then are splashed down and recovered and flown again. What in the world? I could just listen to Max's reaction this whole time too.
I know, right? That's like my favorite part almost.
So yeah.
So yeah, you can see, as Sawyer was saying, all 4 bits right now, the two fairing halves kind of in the middle stacked, the booster on the left and the second stage on the right. Those white puffs coming out of the, like right there, out of the booster, those are RCS puffs. Those always look gorgeous in the upper atmosphere. The fairing halves will be doing similar things, preparing themselves for re-entry.
All this in one frame too. And this is 4.5 minutes into flight nonetheless, we should point out.
Dude, what in the...
This is ridiculous.
What do I follow?
Again, you can hear the excitement from the Cape team here. Even still seeing them a little bit there. Here's the onboard views as the of what those thrust pulses look like on the first stage that we've been seeing from the ground. And on the right there, again, that sun right on the horizon, just bouncing off the rocket and the exhaust plume. That is why we had the jellyfish there. T+5 minutes now. And still, what a beautiful sight.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, almost speechless there. We do have an event coming up, though, that we can't ignore in less than a minute, and that is the first stage entry burn, which is an approximately 20-ish second burn that will help slow the first stage down on its way towards a landing on a shortfall of gravitas, which... how exactly does this slow it down? Because we always like to say that's the burn that fights fire with fire.
Yeah, that is the saying that we love over here. So if you watch the telemetry on the left-hand side of your screen, that's stage 1 telemetry straight from SpaceX, you'll see during the entry burn that number will rapidly decelerate. And since peak heating is roughly proportional to the cube of velocity, when they cut the velocity, they cut it by roughly 1/3. They cut peak heating by a lot more since it's cube, since the relationship is cubic. So there you can see actually, yeah, that is our ground view of stage 1 entry burn. So right now it is fighting the fire of re-entry that it's about to come up with fire of Merlins.
There you go. Again, our amazing team capturing that on the ground there as well, as we're more than 6 minutes and 40 seconds into the flight.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
We have the shutdown. We also had confirmation that the flight termination system on that first stage is safe.
Wow.
Still able to see it. And T+7 minutes. So the next thing, Gauge. Unbelievable work, by the way. Continuing to track this remotely. Next up, we should have the first stage landing burn, followed hopefully shortly thereafter by the landing of that first stage on a shortfall of gravitas, a little over 600 kilometers downrange, marking what would be its 21st landing. That will be followed shortly thereafter by SECO 1, which is shutdown of that Merlin vacuum engine on the right side of your screen. We say SECO 1, second engine cutoff 1, as there is a second burn 45 minutes after
Stage
that
1
shuts
transonic.
down. Here you go, stage 1 in the transonic phase of flight. Slower than the speed of sound, getting there now. Wow. 4 kilometers up, just about to pass under 1,000 kilometers an hour.
And on the left, Pay attention, and the telemetry will signify
Stage
the
1
start of the
burn.
landing burn. There it is.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
So that helps. Stage 2 is in its terminal guidance, which is a good thing. It's heading towards
FPS
orbit.
saved.
Meanwhile, you see the steering there from the grid fins on the left side as it aims towards the drone ship deck. You can see the drone ship landing like deploy. It's centering itself.
We have landing audio now.
Oh
Touchdown.
my goodness.
Starlink
was
6-59 on his way to space. Meanwhile, Booster now adding a -22 after 21 successful launches and landings.
So that was SpaceX's 307th booster landing and 233rd consecutive. And you know, on the next stream, I'll be saying, I don't know about you, but this booster's feeling 22.
For you.
Max, we were just enjoying hearing you freak out. That was incredible.
You know, whenever we get a launch as spectacular as that, I always forget our mic is hot. I know Kevin's probably going to yell at me for that, but oh my gosh, that was... You know, I had this feeling, I had a little inkling of a feeling that it wasn't going to be that spectacular, the jellyfish at least, and oh my goodness, was I so happy to be proven wrong. That might be the greatest I've ever seen, like to this point. And I've seen, this will be 168, I believe, the 168th launch I've seen, and that, oh my god, I'm gobsmacked. That was incredible. I mean, for a while, you probably saw it in my frame, we were tracking both the second stage, both fairings, and the booster.
Yeah, we're working on pulling the replay of that, by the way, so stay tuned.
We were freaking out, don't worry.
I made sure to look up a couple of times with my naked eye at the sky, and it was just as spectacular as looking down at the monitor down here. Holy cow, guys, that was remarkable.
Wow. Yeah, that was absolutely... I haven't seen anything like that, even from a video feed. That was beautiful, and I'm hearing from people that were along the coast of Florida as well, of just how spectacular that trail was. Oh my god.
That was bonkies, as Jack would say.
Yeah, that I think is a fair use of that word.
People are telling me in chat I need to update my spreadsheets. I will start updating my spreadsheets just for you guys.
There we go. Again, it's this booster's 4th flight this year. And the 21st launch and landing for it is still hard to believe. And yeah, again, we're working on pulling the replays from just how beautiful that was. We should have that in some photos for you momentarily. And a shout out to all of the team that was out there helping with the tracking, including Dr. WD-40 Wade, who went all the way out and got some downrange video as well. I know we've got Gage that was on some of the tracking. Just unbelievable. In the meantime, I do want to thank some people who sent messages prior to the launch here. Brian getting an item from the store, which I'm guessing is the Flight 4 patch, saying, I knew the patch would look somewhat like this, and it's perfect. Y'all keep launching the great streams. Brian, thank you very much for your support there. Appreciate it. Blake Alexander with the $20 super chat saying, partial success, pop culture is small concern, you're all awesome. Thank you to what you give us nerds. Oh, we're happy to. And thankfully tonight, this launch appears to be a full success so far, which is always what we love to see. So far.
Can't say that until payload deploy.
That's why I said so far. I'm being cautious. But the booster did its job. That we can say.
It did.
And Rudy, thank you for upgrading to a Pad Rat member. We do appreciate that as well. Oh, wow. There's someone who asked, is there a place that I can post pictures that you took of the launch? Tweet them to us. We'd love to see it. You can tweet it to us individually to @NASASpaceflight. We'd love to see what cool shots you were able to get as our viewers here. So definitely do that.
Sawyer, I'm not sure what a tweet is. It is officially X.
Thank God the cameras are not on anymore like they were during the flame trench. You should see the look. But yes, the X post / tweet. We'll go with that. I know our social team definitely already antsy to see some of them. People asking, does 21 make it legal age now? In the US, it can now drink. Also, per our social media team leader, LSR, our guru when it comes to all this stuff, saying you can also DM any pictures on Instagram and Facebook as well. So multiple ways to share those images with us. We would love to see them. Again, some of the ones I've already seen from other people is just spectacular.
Holy cow. Julia just posted her streak shot in the back channel, and it looks remarkable. Holy cow.
We'll put that up for you on screen momentarily. Oh, it just beautiful. All I can keep saying is just beautiful, and you'll see why momentarily once we get that for you on the screen. Oh boy. Yeah. Getting people that saw it all the way in Puerto Rico as well, with second stage SECO being that far south. So, yeah. Sausage asking, do you know why SpaceX doesn't carry a few less satellites and then do an RTLS instead? Any idea, Trevor?
Because for them, the main holdup is number of launches still. So it doesn't make sense to reduce the number of satellites on board there wouldn't really be any gain. You would just be putting fewer satellites into orbit.
Yeah. And for them, it's more satellites, more better, that's for sure. Oh, man. A spectacular launch this evening once again. 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites currently in a parking orbit right now, awaiting a second ignition of that second stage, SES-2, coming up about 45 minutes from now. Max, I see you're already anticipating some of your other cameras out there, hoping what you can get. Can you explain to people what you mean by puddle cam?
Yeah, so it rained a lot here this morning, and there are still some residual puddles here around the KIC press site parking lot. And around, I want to say 10 months ago, I was able to create an image where I had of course a streak shot, but also the streak was reflecting upside down in the puddle. And I tried that again today, and I have the camera like literally less than 1 inch above the water. And I think I had it framed just right, but it's on the other side of the lot, and we're all the way over here on the lawn, and I want to go grab it so bad, but I got to stay here for y'all. So I will have to, for now, I will have to be patient. But judging from what I saw with Julia and her saying that she did not need a filter, holy cow, I am excited.
Yeah, for a lot of these, we'll use a neutral density filter, an ND filter, that it makes it darker so that you can get shots in lighter conditions, like in daylight, or in this case, right at dusk. And the fact that Julie was able to get an amazing shot without it is beyond impressive from a photography standpoint. Oh boy. There is, speaking of, Julia's amazing image. I mean, look at that. You can see the plume from it. You can see where the jellyfish was happening. You can see some of those gas jet thruster puffs almost a little bit in there. It's just...
Yeah, buddy. That is beautiful.
Those are some good-looking photons, if I can say so myself.
Like,
indeed you can.
The baby blue hue of the sky and the dark orange trail of the exhaust is beautiful. Holy cow. And onto some replays.
Yes, here's one from our tracking camera that we have at KSC there. And we should get to see the beautiful colors there, and of course the beautiful colors from our team's cameras as well. I mean, Max and D, phenomenal work, both of you out there tonight.
Believe this is my camera now.
It does appear to be yours.
There was a point in time where the HDMI cable seemed to misbehave and I lost feed on the monitor, but it came back within a few seconds and I was able to... Oh, here comes the sound.
Sound.
Holy cow. Just living that all again. Sheesh.
Pass through max Q, passing through the speed of sound, the illumination even on the clouds. Again, like we were saying on stream, that was the first indicator that it is extremely likely that we were going to get an amazing jellyfish.
Absolutely. And around this point, the HDMI cable began to misbehave. And I lost feed on the monitor real quick, but then I got it back, thankfully. And right around in just a few seconds, we should start to see the exhaust light up with the sun.
Yeah. Again, the setting sun, you saw it from that second stage camera right at the edge of the horizon, which hits the plume. Oh, chef's kiss, just right to create that jellyfish effect. So
I just lost it there and just got it back there.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. And there it goes. You see how it just changed? That's the sun now hitting the exhaust particulates from all 9 Merlin 1D engines. And Miko, and this is where the fun begins.
Exactly. If anyone ever asks, what's a jellyfish? Just show them this.
Classic case in point, best case scenario jellyfish.
Yes. Wow. Just wow. And it starts off so small, but then again, as it gets into the thinner and thinner parts of the atmosphere, and the light hits it just right. Unbelievable.
I think I did. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there. I think I just heard myself say no way.
Well, it's better than some of the other things. So you could see, though, the light there, the puffs still coming from that first stage booster just to the left of the second stage. What in the world indeed, Max? And on top of that, now there's 2 additional ones. Those are the fairing halves. The fact that you got all of that in one. First off, I smell a short coming soon. I should talk to the guy who does those. That giggle, Max.
Yeah, at that point at that point when you're seeing that with your own eyes and especially through the monitor, you just can't hold it in anymore, man. That's just
It's honestly,
exactly.
It may honestly, Max, be my favorite part. Just listening to your reaction.
Oh my god. Jeez.
Agree. And again, the fact that you can see the puffs from the fairings. The fairings, which are decent size, but not that big in comparison.
Holy
God. You see both of them so clearly. The puffs coming from them, the RCS on them, the cold gas jet thrusters. It's just,
that is remarkable.
Remarkable is the perfect word for it, past Max.
I still have all 4 in frame. Same. Wow, that is... My goodness.
What are your thoughts watching it back now?
Every bit as spectacular. I'm just listening to myself. Yeah, no, it's the exact same reaction, honestly.
I'll follow the second stage.
Okay, I'll follow the booster.
And you following the booster there.
Oh my god.
Still.
Oh,
there's
a gator.
At this point, we're, what, about 4 minutes into flight? And still, able to see the puffs of the thruster there. Max, I commend you for stunning job on that.
Oh, just you wait until you see some of these slow-mo here. Holy cow.
I'm skipping through it right now. My jaw is on the floor.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't know if you heard just the meow from Jake there of going, whoa. The view of it as well, taking off with the beautiful sunset sky there from Port Canaveral. Wonderful. Wonderful. Slow-mo is going to be exciting as well, I gotta say. But even in real time, still fantastic. I mean, Max, thank you for getting out there tonight and shooting this.
Hey, it's our pleasure as always. And this is why this never gets old. And this is why we are so grateful and to be in a position as fortunate enough as this to be able to bring this view or these views to everyone else who wants to watch it with us. This is why it never gets old, man. This is incredible. And I just want to thank everyone else for tuning in tonight. And you are the reason why we are able to do what we do.
A shout out as well to Julia Bergeron, who was out in the field with that stunning photo, which is already on her social media. So if you want to go check it out, you definitely should. Julia, fantastic part of the Cape team as well out there. And then we also had some footage come in from Dr. WD40 as well. Make sure you check them out on Twitch as well, which is where they typically stream. And then we got the slow-mo footage that will be provided to us by D. D, again, amazing work out there too. There is the website you can see for Dr. WD40, the outdoor educational live streamer that often helps contribute with some of these Cape launches. And there's Julia's social media to go check out her photos. Kevin Michael Reed has been the one who's helping to bring you the live views and bring these spectacular replays. And of course, I was also joined here by Trevor Sesnick on commentary. Trevor, thank you for joining.
No, I need to be thanking the beautiful people that brought us these views. That was an absolute joy to watch live and commentate. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Max and Dee, for this just breathtaking footage. Holy cow.
Look at the colors on that. It doesn't get much better than that.
Like, it hardly computes that this is in the realm of physics that we know and understand that this is possible.
And not just in the realm of physics that we know and understand, but to have the technology to be able to capture it and provide it to everyone too. I mean, wow. So yes, shout out to Trevor. For those who don't know, I have been your host for this portion of our stream here with the Starlink launch. I am Sawyer Rosenstein with NSF, and I'm so proud to be a part of the team that brings you this amazing, amazing footage from the Cape, slow-mo, all of it. So a huge shout out to the amazing Cape team who I get the honor to occasionally work with out there as well. Just some of the best in the business, and I mean that in every sense of the word. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll let you enjoy the last of the replays and then enjoy the rest of your night as well. Have a great one, everybody.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside at speed off. Say again, at speed off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?